Instructions for accessing subtitles in a language other than English are included on our board meetings webpage as well as in the description below. Instrucciones para acceder a los subtítulos en un idioma que no sea el inglés se incluyen en nuestra página web de reuniones de la Junta, así como en la descripción a continuación.
Good evening and welcome to the Ross Valley School District Board of Trustees regular meeting. Today is January 21st, 2026, and I am calling our meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. We have five trustees present in person at the school district office here at 100 Shaw Drive in San Anselmo. Myself, Rachel Litwack, Chris Landles-Cobb, Shelley Hamilton, Daniel Cassidy, and Anna Marsh. We also have cabinet members present. We have Superintendent Tyler Graff, we have our CBO Chris Carson, we have Assistant Superintendent Julia Walcott, and we have our Director of Student Services, Lori O'Connor. Our meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, and the link is on our website and on our agenda. There will be a 60-second delay between the meeting and the YouTube live stream. A recording of the meeting is available or will be made available to the public on our district YouTube website. And with that, I will move on to our next item here, which is procedural items. The first one here is Pledge of Allegiance and Democratic Reflection. I don't personally have a democratic reflection. There's a lot of chaos going on in our government right now, so I'm just going to let that slide. But if someone else has a comment to make, please feel free.
I think Shelley wants to say something.
I was thinking about this too, and I just wanted to, I was actually reflecting, and I won't take a whole lot of time. I actually carry around a copy of the Constitution in my purse.
What's that?
What's that? Yes, exactly. And so I was just thinking about when we say the Pledge of Allegiance and to the flag, and to the and to the republic for which it stands. And I was thinking about the oath of office that we all taken it twice now. And it's an oath of office that every public servant across the entire United States to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, domestic, abroad, international and domestic. And so I was just thinking about that when I say the Pledge of Allegiance, because I like it to have some meaning, and so it's feeling meaningful to me. I've been pulling out and reading my Constitution a lot these days, trying to understand. So that's all. Just want to have it be meaningful.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, so if you would like to join me with the pledge, please stand up yourself.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on with our agenda, we have adopt the agenda and time allocations. Does anybody have any changes, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Perfect, I have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, motion to second. Daniel?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Rachel? Aye. All right, so we have an agenda. And moving on, we have communication. Our first item here is public comment regarding items not on the open session agenda. So for this, for public comments regarding items that are not on our agenda, public comments are within our subject matter purview. They will be heard when we reach this item. So public comments for things that are not listed. If it's something that is listed on our agenda, it goes later on with that agenda item. So I just want to preface that ahead of time. Do we have any public comment? Okay, we have none. Okay, I should have just saved my breath. The next item we have here is correspondence and communication to the board. We have some attachments there. We've had a flow of emails coming in, so hopefully everyone had a chance to read all those. Our next item is announcements by labor unions, CSEA, RVTA. So if we have anyone here representing them who would like to come and speak, you are free to do so now. All right, we have no one here who announces, so I'll move on to our next item, which is recognition of retirees. We have a recognition ceremony and reception for retiring district employees. This is Julia.
Fabulous. Well, it's absolutely an honor to introduce this item. We have two retirees that we are recognizing this evening. I'm going to begin with Benji Rodriguez, who is a member of our custodial staff. He's unable to be here this evening, but we are deeply appreciative of all of his years of service in Ross Valley and of course wish him the best. And here with us this evening, we have Katrine Halstenson. Katrine has been with us for 25 years in the Ross Valley School District. I have had many times of getting to step into Katrine's room and see the magic that happens with her and with her students. But I will turn it over to Principal Wagner, who is going to say some more words.
Of course. Yeah, 25 years. I was thinking about all of the students that you've had an impact on over the last 25 years. And that's like hundreds and hundreds, more than 500 students that Katrine has touched the lives of and ignited a spark for learning and an excitement for being lifelong learners, whether it's the Trout study work or getting to know their neighborhoods, feeling the love for reading, and you've touched them with your love and your kindness, and we are so, so grateful. And not only the students, Katrine, but their parents, their families. You've had tough conversations. You've supported parents through tricky times and celebrations and milestones, and of course, your colleagues too. Before coming here, we had an opportunity to have dinner with Katrine, and there were other teachers that couldn't come to the board meeting but stopped by to see her, who came to dinner but couldn't be here. Our community is forever changed by you being part of it. And I know you've had you've left your mark at Brookside, and we're just so grateful and so happy for you in this next phase in retirement, and hope that it brings so much hiking and biking and walks with Cooper and time in Tahoe and time with Dan and Molly and Hannah, and we're just so happy for you, Katrine.
And a new grandbaby.
And a new grandbaby. So thank you for everything. We love you, and you will forever be a very proud Brookside Bear.
Of creating a Ross Valley wordle for our retirees, and so these are words when your colleagues were asked, what comes to mind when you think about Katrine as a teacher, and we have words here like remarkable, caring, encouraging, thoughtful, communicative, understanding, warm, skier, and then this one is interesting, trout lover.
Because we're meant to love. Oh, so much. You're gonna stand up. Okay. Yeah. I have loved every moment that I've been here. I mean, it's a long time, and it's a new transition for me. Just not doing it anymore, and it's I'm getting into it now. It's quite lovely. I think I've earned it, I guess. But I love you all, and I'm not gone. I live in the neighborhood, so you might see me walking, Cooper, right? Thank you very much for all the wonderful years.
Thank you.
We have some refreshments and just a few moments to gather and
All right, welcome back from our break, and moving on from our recognition of retirees, we are moving on to presentation and or action items. Our first one is recommended approval of the annual audit report for the 2024-25 school year.
And that would be me. And thank you for the opportunity to present the report this evening. And we have Stephen Roach with the audit firm Stephen Roach and Associates with us, and he's going to give the presentation to the governing board.
I'm just going to go through as usual rather quickly, and I'll be happy to stick around and answer any questions that you might have. Page 1 of the audit report is the independent auditor's opinion on the financial statements. And this opinion is what's called an unmodified opinion on the primary government, which is the Ross Valley School District, and an adverse opinion on the component unit, which is the Ross Valley Schools Foundation. That adverse opinion is because we don't actually present any of their financial information included in the financial statements. The state does not require it, and we do not, and we have not in the past. Next, I'm going to skip over all of the financial information that we have so far because nothing has really changed significantly from the unaudited actuals that you approved back in September. I would have you turn to page 74, which is the schedule of financial trends and analysis. And this page shows financial information of the general fund for the past 3 fiscal years, as well as the 25-26 originally adopted budget. There are concerns on this page, and I know that you have gotten communications from the county office as part of your budget, and pretty soon, probably in your first interim, if you haven't already received that. If you go 5 rows from the top, you'll see that there was some pretty significant deficit spending in 23-24 and 24-25. Which was almost 2.8 million in the most recent year, which is kind of, I'm seeing a lot of this right now in a lot of the school districts after the COVID-19 time period. There's this, a lot of people are getting deficit spending, and then it's supposed to kind of clear up as we go forward. Also on that page, there was a slight amount of declining enrollment. If you go down right in the center of the page, average daily attendance. Basically it was 1638 in 23-24, and it dropped to 1611 in the 24-25 year. So if you go right below that is the long-term liabilities. There's $61 million as of June 30, 2025. Overall, that consists of $40 million of general obligation bonds, which are basically serviced by the taxpayers within the district. And the other $21 million is basically OPEB and net pension liabilities. So that's an obligation you can't prepay or anything like that. It's just going to be your ongoing contributions to STRS, PERS, and also your retiree health benefits. So that number is a good number because you don't really have a lot of long-term liabilities that are being financed from your general fund. Now that deficit spending, that's almost 3.5 million over the past 2 years, and that definitely cannot be allowed to continue going forward. I didn't really put anything in the report because I think that you guys are addressing that in conjunction with what the county has requested upon you. And that's basically one of the things we look at to see. Most of this information has been very transparent and it's brought out to the community so they know the current situation. The one concern, probably my biggest concern for this district, is not this temporary deficit spending issue, but the parcel tax. A number of districts within this county, I think even Lagunitas has their election this week, if I recall, a large portions of their fund, of their general fund budget, I think you guys are about 15-16% of your total. Plus you probably have a couple million in the Ross Foundation. So you have a large part that's kind of dependent from outside sources. And, this was 2.7 million DEF spent this year, and you had the parcel tax. So if that parcel tax was not around, you can only imagine that number is going to be substantially higher. I mean, probably 1 or 2 years and you're in serious trouble. So that's kind of depending on what's going on with the voters. The one thing I would kind of say is that it's always good to communicate with your employees. Over the many years that I've been doing this, I've seen some elections that did not pass because of margins of people within their own school district that voted against bond measures and stuff like that. And, you want to get everybody involved as much as possible. This is so very important for a district of yours. You guys have small class sizes. Most of your teachers that work within this district are used to working with those small class sizes. If you do lose that parcel tax, that since your budget is 75% salaries and benefits, the only way that you can make any sort of meaningful cuts is to cut personnel. And that's going to be one thing when all your friends are getting laid off, and then next thing is you go to class and instead of 20 kids, you've got 28 kids. And it's going to be like a whole different ballgame because now you're going to have all these people that are used to teaching 20 kids and now they're teaching 28. So I think it's just good to highlight to your employees and go, hey, you need to get grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, any kids that are over 18 years old, get them down there to vote because, you don't want to miss it by a couple votes just knowing that you could have done that little added effort and maybe carried you over the top. Plus it takes a lot of time doing these elections. You have to coordinate people and go, it's a lot of effort and it's better just to do it one time really good and get it out of the way. And that's what that's probably my biggest recommendation for this district. Other than that, we had some findings. There were 2 financial statement findings, basically technical issues. Neither of those findings really resulted in any significant change in fund balance. There were 2 state compliance findings as well, which were both technical issues. Neither of those had any fiscal impact on the district. So I don't care to go through those unless someone has a specific question on those. Last year, we only had 1 finding for your district, and that was basically for the fact that you guys did not have an ELOT program, which this year you guys did implement that. So that 1 finding has been corrected and now spelled out of your reports. Any questions today? Any interest?
No questions other than, it's appreciate having auditors because of transparency issues, and because if you haven't said anything that we haven't already had multiple discussions around, it gives us confidence that we're having discussions around the right things because we're hearing, resonating information from you. So I appreciate both, the ability for whoever's listening to us to hear from another source.
If you get nothing else, bring grandma. Get her vote.
Get out and vote.
I have a question. On the technical matters that you mentioned, although minor, do those at all remove us from being in compliance with anything?
Oh, with state compliance? There are items that are included in the audit guide. Let me just go back here rather quickly. The one on the last page is basically a finding that almost every district that I had that had an external provider of their ELOT program, as usual, the state sometimes puts out guidance and they do it late, and then they put a procedure in the audit guide after the fact to have us look at it. So that finding is pretty much just saying, hey, you guys need to make sure that your contracts include this certain language between the Boys and Girls Club, I believe it is, for your district.
YMCA.
So, like I said, almost every district that I had that had external people had this finding in there. And sometimes the state does that just so that they can use us as a hammer to get those clauses in their contracts and whatnot.
Okay.
The other one is basically expenditures and excessive appropriations. All that is if we go back to page
104.
So 104, or no, I was looking at page 59 of the report.
Oh,
If you go to page 59 and look at the total expenditures, basically you'll see that same 944,320, and that's basically funds were expended in excess of the budget. A lot of districts, what they will do is they'll actually have a resolution they pass that sometimes allows the business office to true up their budget through year end. Some people use that and really don't use their budget that much. And I don't think that's the situation here. I almost would rather see a budget being used the way it's supposed to be used for planning and budgeting, and not just at the very end, you have a resolution that allows you to clean it all up and everything looks perfect. I've got some districts, they show there was no difference between their budget and their actuals. In this instance, it probably needs to be cleaned up more so at second interim, and I don't know.
Estimated actuals probably was the issue. And we also had the combining with, I think it was the deferred maintenance fund.
Deferred maintenance fund, a little bit, yeah, which might have done some of that. So.
Yeah, we had some projects where we had insurance claims, and so it had to do with the insurance claim side of it.
Yeah, and like I said, this here really doesn't affect anything. It's just a requirement that you're supposed to do that, and that's an easy one to implement. And I feel that'll be taken care of next year.
And I just want to understand, our job is obviously to address and remedy these findings.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we do on our side to ensure that we have met the requirements of audit findings to determine that those issues have been remediated? Do we file a report? Do we document it so it doesn't show up again consecutively?
Basically, like on state compliance findings, the state of California actually, or the Department of Education will actually contact you, and he basically has to respond to them on the corrective action that has taken place.
Okay.
And eventually they'll send that. I don't know if you bring that to the board or not.
You would take it to the board.
Yeah.
So
to show
we
the corrective.
sign off that it's been done.
Yeah, and then for financial statement findings, it's gonna be that your county office of education follows up on the ones that are not state compliance findings.
Do you have to come back in and do another audit of those two?
We
to
follow up on
determine-
it next year, because that's why we have that schedule of prior year recommendations. So
So-
that's our procedure where we
So-
actually look at and make sure that's taken care of.
I would actually sign off that it's been done, and what you would get is the finding.
Attestation.
It would be a finding and then what was done to correct it.
Okay,
So
And
that,
when Stephen comes back next year, just like he said that we remedied the ELOP finding from last year, you'll do the same thing on these 4 findings next
Exactly.
year
On the
to
last
say-
page, you'll see
Yeah.
all 4 of these
Yeah.
findings and if it was implemented or not.
okay. Just want to understand the audit chain
Sure.
of findings and events that we're
Mhm.
responsible for ensuring
Yep.
gets done. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Do you have any more questions? Do you have any public comments on this item? No? Alright. Any discussion up here from the board? I do appreciate you, Stephen, for just the independent, like, kind of verification of what we've been saying, like, hey, we're deficit spending and we need a parcel tax or some other sort of funds to make up for that missing revenue we're having. And the fact that you said in a couple years we're gonna be in some trouble, like, so I appreciate you saying that, because you're an auditor who's not involved in our system and our business here, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. No other questions?
Other comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Grab a cookie.
Oh, yeah, some
Bye.
cookies.
Take
Yeah, I
care.
just found out I had diabetes.
Oh, gosh, I don't have a cookie. I don't have a cookie then.
Okay, don't grab a cookie.
Yeah, sorry. Cookies.
Oh, Hannah.
Okay, so on this item, it looks like we need to approve the audit or not. So does anyone want to make a motion on this item?
I'll recommend that we review and approve the annual district audit report for the 24-25 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, Dana?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Rachel? Aye. Okay. Our next item is special education review findings. It's Lori.
Yeah, so this one will be Lori, and I'm really excited to have Lori on board. She's done a wonderful job this fall and through the winter. And if you remember last year when I did my learning tour, there were a couple big things that popped up. One was obviously the budget, and this is part of why we went out for parcel tax, and we have these plans for potential budget cuts. The other big issue that kind of surfaced through the learning tour was looking into special education and finding ways for better relationships with families, efficiencies with our staffing, improving staffing and having fewer agency hires. And as part of that learning tour, we decided as a team that we wanted to go out and do kind of a review audit of our special ed programs, just so we could have a third party kind of tell us, like, here's some of the things you guys are doing really well, and here's some things you might want to focus on. So I was really lucky to have Lori come join us in the summer, and I passed the baton right to her, and she's taken it from there. So excited to hear what she has to share with us today. Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, of course. All right, yeah, I think, coming in July, this was actually really great for me because it allowed me to really look into this programs too. And so, it was also, as I was gathering my own perceptions and just seeing what was out there, it was nice to have a partner in Holly Wade to also be comparing these, to have, somebody, a thought partner. And thinking about that. So this is the Special Education Review Report, and I've been talking about this review throughout the first semester, all the phases that we've been through, and so this is the final outcome. So this presentation was the report was conducted by Dr. Holly Wade. Holly Wade is a longtime special educator, all the way up to Assistant Superintendent of Special Education in San Mateo County area. This was a big lift, this project, and I want to thank all the people involved. We had staff, parents, community members, our district administrators all participate and contribute, and so this is pretty much the outcome of that. So I want to thank everybody for that. And it also definitely instills our shared commitment to equity and inclusion in the district. And that's definitely something Tyler brings through, as well as Julia, as we're doing all of our equity work. And it definitely aligns with all that work as well. All right, and as Superintendent Graff just mentioned, this sort of came out of his learning tour when he started 2 years ago now. It was really to understand the strengths, gaps, and opportunities for growth in special education. And the whole project is grounded in inclusion. And inclusion, we mean that we want to make sure that all of our special education students are included in the general education setting and getting what they need and feel a sense of belonging on our campuses. And this review will be the guide for a 3-year special education strategic plan that my department will put together. And I'm starting work on that, and we'll vet it with a lot of different people, get input, do some surveys around priorities, and then we'll be able to present to you in right around June a solid 3-year strategic plan moving forward. Okay. So Holly's methodology for gathering the data was she used a qualitative approach, which were interviews and surveys with family, staff, administrators, special education advisory council, and me as well. We spent a lot of time together talking through things, and I was gathering my own perceptions, and we were comparing notes. We also did a nice site visit tour day. We hit all the sites and saw a lot of great inclusive practices in both our general education and special education classrooms. And then from the qualitative standpoint, which is all the numbers and data and percentages, she utilized the California Department of Education DataQuest website, the California dashboard, as well as a lot of district data that we gathered for her. All right, and we'll jump right into findings. The findings that she came up with were some of the bright spots in what we do daily, and all of these things really align with what I've seen as well, and I don't think any of this is too much of a surprise, because these are all the amazing things that are happening here. We have committed, collaborative, and skilled staff. That's something that I picked up on immediately. We have people who are problem solvers, who want to work, who are excited about things, who just need the green light to move work forward. We have a really strong care team structure on our school sites. So the care team at each school site is made up of the school psychologist, the principal, a teacher, the resource specialist from special education. And as we have kids coming through who we're concerned about, they go through the care team process as a first step instead of jumping to special education immediately. So there's lots of different practices that we have in place through the care team structure to be able to support kids and put interventions in place before we have to go the special education route. And we utilize a multi-tier system of support for that with tiers of intervention. We have an extremely collaborative culture, and that starts here at the board all the way down. And that's amazing. Everybody's willing to jump in, roll up their sleeves, and get work done together. Holly also noticed that we have family-like school communities. When you walk on a school campus, you really feel the sense of being part of it. And teamwork among all of our support services. So we have, in the special education department, we have teachers, we have occupational therapists, we have speech language pathologists, we have school psychologists. Everybody's working as a team to support kids. And then we also have very strong tier 1 instructional practices and curriculum. So our IRB program is that Julia had brought on board, and we actually had a 3rd or 4th grade teachers here today getting their next installment of training. These tier 1 supports are what are so important and are universal, so every student gets these things to make sure that we're doing what we can to best support our kiddos. And then more bright spots. Students with IEPs we see in the general education setting. We have students in some of our more restrictive classrooms who do get out into the general education setting regularly. They have their desk in that setting, they have their name tag, they have a space on the carpet to really make sure that they feel a sense of belonging in the general education setting, because really all of our students in special education are general education students first, and so we want to make sure that they feel that. Holly also noticed that families are such a part of the IEP process. As she interviewed a lot of our families, they talked about how included that they felt in that process. And not only is it a law that we have to include families, it's also just the best practice, because who knows their children better, these children better than their families. And I sense that too, as I'm sitting in IEP team meetings, and usually the ones that I'm in are the most contentious. And I can tell that there's such a support for the process with our families. And then we also have a very strong commitment to inclusion, as I've mentioned. And then Holly did mention that our district leadership is open and responsive. And the staff commented that they were excited to, if they have an issue, bring it to the district leadership to be able to solve problems, brainstorm, and be thought partner together. And then finally, the Special Education Advisory Committee is, she identified as a very strong piece of our process. She actually attended one of our meetings and noticed that just all of that voice was coming through to the work that we're doing. Okay, all right, and then she also did find some opportunities for growth. And again, these opportunities for growth line up with everything that I'm noticing as well. We have a really strong multi-tiered system of support that was our wonderful assistant soup here, Julia, had put together that process with a group of teachers, and so we have that for the academic side, but we don't have that for the behavior side. So we're going to look at developing the multi-tiered system of support for behavior, and the multi-tiered system of support is basically a 3-tiered approach. So you have your universal supports that every child receives. You have tier 2, which if those supports don't work, maybe like a little handful of kids need a little bit something else. And then finally tier 3, students who are not tapping into tier 2 get a little bit something else. And then we could, wind up going or doing a special education assessment. But just want to work through all those tiers to be able to do whatever we can to support our students. And actually already we have a committee to put that whole system together, which we should have completed by the end of the year. And then again, with the behavioral supports and the SEL is social emotional learning. So she identified that we do need to adopt a social emotional learning curriculum, because right now our counselors and our principals and staff are just sort of pulling pieces here and there. But if we had a really research and evidence-based curriculum across the board, we could have common language across sites, as well as that transition to White Hill Middle School to be able to work with kids that way, and have those things set so that people aren't having to do extra work on trying to pull things together. Staff recruitment, retention, and workload, really looking in at that. We have had a hard time filling positions. I think we just filled our White Hill special education team is full right now. But we definitely are looking at that. The workload is quite extensive because we're tight. We have such a tight crew that we all have to give a little bit more. And then also retention. And when it comes to retention, we're talking about job satisfaction, culture and belonging, which we have all of that, and also salary. Did you want to hit on that first?
Yeah, I think that this one is, sometimes we get critique at the district level about the amount of money we spend on consultants, like the line item for consultants. Sometimes what that means is we can't find a special education teacher, so we have to go hire someone at an agency for a 20% premium. So, what we normally pay plus 20%, and that ends up falling under line item for consultants. It's not like we're bringing in McKinsey to do consulting services. We're making sure kids have a teacher is what that means in practice. And if we have higher salaries, we can avoid the 20% premium. We can hire our own internal people who can go through our training, who will stick around, they'll get to know our families, and it's just a win-win for students, for families, and for the staff. So the staff this is a real connection to the parcel tax and the budget plans that we have. So I guess I'm trying to talk to two things. One is we need to pay our staff a higher salary so we can attract and retain high quality special educators and general educators. And the critique around too much spending in consultants isn't what most people think it is. It's actually just making sure we have teachers in the classroom.
Can I ask a basic question about, as we look at opportunities for growth, what is the economic capacity to support this? Especially if, worst case scenario, we don't pass a parcel tax, this population of students are the ones that will suffer the most, I would assume. And probably the impact will be harder for them. So I'm looking at this and thinking these are opportunities for growth, and as you start to develop these things, but if the rug is pulled out from underneath us, these things will not be viable, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, then there's also the piece when services are written into a child's IEP, by law, we have to uphold that. So somehow we have to provide those services.
And that's
And
a
this-
very
this
good
is
point,
kind of
because
where-
we're legally bound to.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
This is where special ed costs can snowball really quickly, right? So you can't find a teacher because your salaries are the lowest in the county. So then you pay for an agency at 20% premium. Or you can't find an agency person and there's no one in that position, and then parents sue you for compensatory ed. So it's not because we disagree, it's because we couldn't find someone. So, you know, a lot of the critique around our spending around special ed is tied directly to our low salaries.
Yeah.
It's not a fully one-to-one correlation, but it is a big component of why we overspend in legal fees and in consultants.
And the statutory requirements.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and then, okay, then other opportunities for growth. Holly mentioned ableism, and that word is, it's not a super common word, but basically what it means is that there's subtle practices that happen in a school that put up barriers for students with special needs to access. So we're talking about not having accessible curriculum, or even like stigmatizing language. Like when we have a student who pushes into a general education class and the teacher says, "Our friend is here." You know, I mean, just very subtle things that we all have to be very cognizant of and very aware of, that can put a little bit of a rub or not allow a child to feel accepted in a sense of belonging in our schools. There's also some of our models to also isolate students. So if we have a student in the special education setting for a long period of their day, they're not getting access to the general education, and so that's also a barrier to them being part of the community. And so so that word is, it's sort of a word that's coming up, but that's basically what it means. Just those little subtle practices that we all have to be really aware of.
That seems like an area that costs nothing to change, which is great.
Yes.
Like that's a lot of just communication and reinforcement.
Absolutely, yes. Like I had mentioned earlier, we have our students that do push into general education settings throughout the day. They have a desk. That's their desk. If they walk into the classroom and there's no desk and everybody has to scramble, oh, we need to get a desk and a chair for this student. I mean, that's ableism. Like we were not prepared. We're not welcoming them in, saying, "Come on in. This place is yours too."
Yeah.
But you're right.
Yeah.
It's free.
Well, I mean, that is fascinating, because you just think about, like, Sally, it's time for speech, and that not every kid is doing that, and so it's that, right? It's the communication, and it takes a lot of reinforcement.
Yes.
Is that something our principals are? Everyone's aware of and is like a consistent.
I think that's part of what this whole report is, to try to kind of shine a light on all the things, and then kind of the 3-year plan that Lori will come up with obviously lots of input, will help highlight what professional development and culture things we need to focus on. And to Chris's point, some of these things will be cost items, and we'll have to have a conversation around where can we increase spending, where we might be able to decrease spending to make it most efficient for our kids.
Yeah, and that did come up. However, in districts that I've been in over the years, I think this district has the least amount of that. I think that our district is in a really good spot as far as the inclusion piece. There's so many great practices happening, and in fact, at the March 11th board meeting, we'll do a whole presentation on all the inclusive practices we're doing, which is exciting. And but yeah, I really it's also like the idea of like the gap between general education and special education. Some places that I've been, it's like, oh no, I don't do special education, I'm a general education person. But here, that gap is so narrow, and if we can just bridge that, we're gonna be in a really good position. In fact, Julie and I are already working on that. We have a meeting next week to start doing more work across general ed and special education intervention. And so there's a lot of good work happening.
When you're measuring the efficacy of these programs and the growth you're implementing, are you also talking to the students and getting their perspective on how they feel that they're being treated and have a sense of belonging? That
is a piece too that she mentioned was missing, is we didn't have a lot of student voice, but there will be a lot of student voice, okay. Definitely. And also even, as we put that strategic plan together, we'll be getting a lot of student voice involved there, in focus groups and empathy interviews and things like that.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt again.
Yeah.
On the behavioral and SEL systems, is that a tier 1 and 2? Does it cross all tiers, or is it like mainly a tier 1? How does the SEL behavioral stuff fit with MTSS?
Yeah, well, usually the social emotional learning is like a curriculum, and so we would that would be for everybody. Okay. So tier 1, everybody would get that, and then maybe if there's something that was happening in a classroom, like some bullying going on or something like that, maybe that classroom would get like maybe the next level up with the counselor to talk, in a tier 2 way for the whole class, like, hey, we need to work on this, or maybe there's an individual student or two that need a little bit extra support for whatever skill they're learning, which could be tier 2. And then the behavioral piece too, I mean, we do, we have the universal supports that everybody's getting as far as like routines, expectations in the classroom, everybody gets that. And then sometimes students are having a hard time with those expectations, and the tier 2 would be, let's sit down and talk about the expectations again, like you and I, one-on-one. And then sometimes there's things that inhibit students from being able to do that, which we might, all the way, across the spectrum, we might think about a 1-to-1 aid to support the child. So it can span the tiers for sure. All right, and then finally, I think we hit universal supports for students. All right, many times. All right, and then also this instructional practices and curriculum, if you'll remember back to our bright spots, it was there too, because we do have amazing instructional practices and curriculum. Our iReady program, and also our screener for reading challenges, including dyslexia. We have all of that in place, so we're really catching kids early so that we can provide that support. And then it's also in growth, because we have a lot of work to do still. We still have some alignment to do across general ed and special education. We want to make sure our students who are in the most restrictive environments also get the same that same curriculum, and figure out how to modify that for them. And then another opportunity for growth is collaboration time. There's never enough time to get together and collaborate and train and all of that. So that was something that Holly picked up on. And then also cross-grade articulation. So, and when we talk about articulation, we have if the second grade teacher's talking to the third grade teachers, like what is this child gonna need when they move up, or the big transitions, 5th grade to 6th grade, elementary to White Hill, or the biggest transition, 8th grade to 9th grade. And so I'm working closely with the TAM district right now to work on that articulation. So it's also something we need to continue working.
Sometimes that articulation might not even be grade level. It could be a student that was at an NPS or a private school that came back into the district, and how does that transition work? Or and I think that was kind of highlighted in the report as well.
Yeah, you're right. I remember her. There were some quotes from families who are in NPS, and they were having a challenge like knowing what that looks like or when it happens. So, more clear communication around it. So thank you for saying that, Tyler. I remember that one. All right. Okay. So that was Holly's part. And then Tyler and I were talking about some of the things that I've reflected upon, being here new in the last 6 months, and just some areas of focus that I'm seeing. So what I'm finding is when our staff is so student-centered, we are making decisions that are in the best interest of kids. And that's at the heart of what we need to be doing. And when we make student-centered decisions, we streamline things. We actually reduce costs sometimes because we're doing these things in the best interest of kids. We also have a huge focus on least restrictive environment, and that's basically making sure that the student is in the least restrictive setting that they possibly can be. We don't want to, have a child who's in a general education setting jump all the way to like a non-public school with nothing in between, because that's where all those tiers of intervention come into play, and we have to keep those going. So really focusing on least restrictive environment. We have amazing things that have happened where staff have said, oh my gosh, this child needs to be in a non-public school. And then we go, wait, what else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? And then they're still in our setting because all of these things happened. Team approach, lots of really smart people collaborating, and we the child stays with us. One example too is when we have a 4-year-old TK student who there's no NPS in this whole area that will take a child under the age of 5. So we had to pull out all the stops, and because we had no options, that child has to stay on our campus. So that was the true test to me. Like, what can we do? We have to make this work. We have no options. And that child is excelling. We're actually collaborating with their preschool, which is our after school program, and a lot of amazing things are happening. So there's all of this really smart thinking happening among the entire team. And it definitely takes a whole village.
So one thing I want to say about least restrictive environment, the way I think about this is like just right support. You want the kid to have enough challenge that they're learning, but not so much challenge that they're shutting down. There's just the right amount of support. And if you put too much support in place, then kids start to get dependent on the support, whether that's a one-to-one aid or extra other things, that accommodations, and then they're not learning as much. So we want to there's a really fine line between creating an independent learner, making sure a kid is in that zone of proximal development, but having all the support they need in order to excel. And I think sometimes the easiest fix is to give them all the supports, and it's just too much. So we're trying to be really careful around making sure it's the just right support.
Absolutely.
That's the way I think about it.
When you do talk about the student-centered approach too, I've heard from special education teachers that the burden of paperwork that they have often takes away from that ability to really, plan and be in that student-centered place all the time. And I was just wondering, what type of solutions did you guys noodle on to perhaps alleviate that burden somewhat for those instructors, so that they can really, really, truly have intent around when it's student focused and when it's independent, as Tyler mentioned.
Well, our student information system for special education, which is SACE, S-E-I-S is the acronym. There's actually some really neat AI tools coming out as far as goals, goal writing, monitoring goals, and doing all of it. So, and actually the state is looking into all those things, and we'll start implementing some AI solutions pretty soon, which is exciting because when I first started in education, an IEP was 5 pages long, and now they're 75 pages long. And there's so many boxes to check, and just all these things, just because over the years there's probably been legal precedent set, oh, now we need to add that, oh, now we need to add that. So, but yeah, there are options like that. There's also, we've also started developing a bank of goals and verbiage and things like that, where we can get that streamlined a little more as far as those goal writing pieces. And also using like, I've turned a couple people on to Grammarly, so we don't have to edit 5 pages of notes. Grammarly can get in there and do all of our correctness for us and, you know, that kind of thing. And so there's definitely tools that we're trying.
The only other thing that I
That's good
would
to know.
add to that is that when you're in a budget situation we are, you staff as tight as possible. So every special educator has 28 kids on their caseload, so they're maxed out with the amount of service they're giving, plus they've got all that paperwork. If you're able to staff a little bit more loosely, then people have more time. Maybe you've got a caseload of 22, and now you have more time to do your assessments and check in with families. And so I think this is one of those compounding problems, is when you're so tight with money, you make sure every sped teacher has as many kids on their caseload as possible, and then there's
And then
cascading
you burn them out,
effects.
then we lose them.
Yeah.
And the attrition suffers.
Exactly. Exactly.
I have many OT friends who have left
Mm-hmm.
school-based OT because of too many kids on their caseload.
And we're also you know, as these systems and structures get into play, the hope is that we actually reduce the number of kids we refer to special education to. Because I think after we got back from the pandemic, it was just this huge influx of, you know, we need this child assessed, they're behind. It's like, well, everybody's behind, you know, at this point. But anyway, I think we're actually getting out of that. I think more and more we're talking about, does this child need to be assessed? Like when we're thinking student centered, like, because when we talk about assessments, we're talking about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of a child sitting one-to-one with an adult, not all in a row, but still being pulled out of class, missing all that good first instruction because they're doing these assessments. And so we're really looking at that now too. And I'm actually, when I'm working with teams, I'm like, what haven't we tried yet? Instead of giving the family an assessment plan to assess for special education. So I think as it's almost like plugging those holes too. And as we get people trained up more around tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, that could alleviate the workload too, because when we have so many kids being assessed, that's that special education teacher who needs those 10 hours, you know, they have a 60-day timeline to get this done. And when they have 7 or 8 assessments open at any given time, you're talking, that's a lot of hours and documentation and paperwork and all that. So another solution that we need to get to eventually, I think, so that we don't run into that, you know, issue. So, all right, and then another definitely a focus of mine this year has been relationships, just building relationships with the staff, with families, so that we can all work together in a positive way. Also the team empowerment within the special education team. So many of our team members have so many amazing ideas and they just need the green light. We have process, and that gets into developing systems and structures. So many of our, like a couple of our psychologists they see a need. We need a process to deter, like a rubric as far as if a child needs a 1-to-1 aid. So I said, go for it, let's do it. And so we did it, and it's in place, and now we are using this rubric to determine if a child needs a 1-to-1 aid, instead of just saying, I think this child needs a 1-to-1 aid, we have data to support it now. And maybe it supports it, and maybe it's like, oh no, they don't need it, we need to do something else. So these are the things that are happening, and that's turning into those systems and structures, which streamlines things, which allows everybody to understand exactly what's going on and how the systems work. And then the other piece is reducing legal and settlement fees. We're definitely working on that, and I think all the things above support that as well, and that's a big focus too. So, all right. And then finally, what's next? So this special education review is being presented to lots of different groups. I presented it to the Special Education Advisory Committee last week. I met with our whole special education team on January 5th and presented it to all of our special ed department. And then from here we will prioritize areas for growth. And so I do plan on sending some surveys out, talking to some families, talking to staff, students, to determine where our areas are. And we do need to sort of piece it out because it's a lot. And we definitely don't wanna slam dunk anything, we wanna make sure that it's sustainable and that it's in good shape. And then from that, we'll develop a 3-year special education strategic plan by June of this year, and then begin implementation July 1, 2026. All right, so.
I just wanna say thank you to Lori. This was a huge task to kind of come into a new role, hit the ground sprinting, and she's been taking action on all of these things. And I think the report from Holly Wade just kind of affirms a lot of what you've seen. There were a few things in there that were kind of like new ahas for us, but overall I think this is going to provide us a really nice plan moving forward, and I just want to give you my deepest gratitude for all the work that you're doing and all the improvements you've already made before the plan even gets started.
Thank you.
Ditto. Thank you.
Of course.
I have a question.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you have questions?
I have a question. I was like, I do have a reflection, but I'll hold that.
Yeah, save the reflections.
But the question that I do have is, did part of this process include looking back over, I don't know how many years, to look at curriculums that have been in effect, either at a particular school site, like you're saying there might be different patchworks. An interesting reflection, I was talking to my daughter today, who's 24, and we were having a mental health conversation in her workplace and whatever, having a mental health conversation, and we were talking about developmentally appropriate approaches to mental health and stuff, and I said, remember when you were at Manor School, and do you remember some of the things that you guys used to do and around like social emotional learning? We were talking about social emotional learning and learning how to be confident, or learning how to communicate, or learning how to identify your feelings. I said, that's all in the mental health. It's like, oh my God, I still have those things on my keychain. Hold on a second. And she pulled out her keychain, and there were these little plastic like award tags that kids would get when either another student or a teacher noticed that they were demonstrating one of those skills. So she pulled out her keychain. She's like, let me see which ones I have. And she's like, oh, I've got the little respect one and the caring one. And she still had it on her keychain at 24. So I'm just wondering, I know. But then we had another conversation where it's like, yeah, remember that toolkit thing with breathing? Oh, I hated that thing. Had these breathing exercises with a thing. And then you had to do it. So there was one thing that she reacts like, oh, I really didn't like doing that. But then she still carried. And I was just wondering whether there was an inventory or an audit of like different practices that have been used over the years as part of this.
As far as the social emotional learning goes, yeah.
Social emotional learning or other kinds of things on campuses.
Holly didn't look into that. I have been getting bits and pieces from people, and so just like, and it's in like the social emotional learning piece is inconsistent across the campuses. So some of our schools are using zones of regulation, which is basically are you in the green zone, the yellow zone, or the red zone right now? And so, but there hasn't really been any, as far as I know, there hasn't been a lot of formal training around that. And so we just want to make sure it's aligned. But yeah, there are a lot of different things, and some of it's piecemeal too. We have one principal who has all this amazing, Google folder with all these resources, but then you sort of have to click around, and it's hard to navigate. But yeah, I mean that's amazing though that your daughter that made such an impact on her.
But it would be interesting to see what's been used in the past and what's worked, and might be a good thing to get student feedback from. I mean, not necessarily get to all the alumni.
And then now there's so many amazing programs that for purchase, of course, and that are all research based, and so that are all grade level appropriate or developmental appropriate, and so we actually should have something because there is ed code around that we do need to do that. However, it gets quite costly, and so we'll have to grapple with that. And then as far as the curriculum goes, I think in special education, it sounds like it's been sort of piecemeal too. But this year we had a line, so all of our special educators have iReady, and our math program too, I believe. But definitely iReady.
And they use Sunday, and they use there's a lot of alignment.
So as kids are getting, sometimes they'll get extra support outside of class, but they're working on the same thing as they were working on in class, so there's consistency there. It's not totally disjointed, and then it's like, what is this? And so they're not, missing out on anything. So Good question.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah.
This was
Any more questions?
fantastic that we did this.
No questions? All right, do we have public comment on this item?
Thank you, PJ Pfeffer, Manor Parent. Appreciate the report and, all the detail in it and what was written. What I was wondering, and I'm hoping that maybe the board can follow up on, or you could elaborate after on, of what of the suggestions for going forward have already begun to be implemented. What things can we do now before the 3-year action plan is going forward? And then to some of the discussion before, obviously there's serious budget issues, and it was hard to suss out a priority list amongst these items for, board is already juggling different programs against one another due to budget constraints. Of curious if, separate from this report, Dr. Wade gave any guidance on what things are more important for the district to spend more money on, and if it has to make that kind of decision. And then finally, to one of the points that you were making, Tyler, about the consultant fees being agency costs and the 20%, I think it would be helpful to break that out in budgets or this kind of review, because going back, it's hard. Without that being separately broken out, we don't know it. Hey, over these 3 years and these agencies fees, that was more than the salary and benefits of one additional counselor, or how many years it takes of doing it this way to go from having, I think we have 2 full-time counselors, one for each site, or things like that, or increasing the benefits to other neighboring districts. And I appreciate we have to, and I think it's important to make sure that we are providing the services that all the students in the district need, whether or not they're part of the general or special education program. But to that effort, I think, this report also highlights that it helps everybody, for the people providing these services to be district employees. And if the district has to make an investment now, how long would it take to pay off in terms of savings of agency fees? Would help it make decisions, and if it needs to get a temporary loan from the county or things like that, because we know it'll pay off within only just 2 or 3 years.
You have 10 seconds.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? No? So seeing that, I will bring it back to the board for discussion. Any comments?
The only reflection, well, 2 reflections. One is I was noticing on the bright spots that I think is great, is a lot of it felt like it was around culture, and the words, looking at the words, there's a lot of open and responsive and committed and family, the culture of family and teamwork and stuff like that. So it feels like our culture as a district and as staff and everything is super strong, which is awesome, because as we know, culture eats strategy for lunch.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to if I had to pick one of the other ones, because on the flip side, it sounds like what needs work is things like systems and structures and curriculum and practices and procedures. I'm pulling out words that I heard you say and that were up there. And even collaboration, really collaborative teams. And the thing that can be worked on is collaborative time, which is a structure for the collaboration. So I was gonna say, I felt really good if, like I said, if I had to pick one, I'm super glad that that's the situation, that we've got a really strong culture, and now we're putting scaffolding and support around that existing culture. We're not having to do culture change, which is great.
Which I think that's why, like, some of the work that Lori's been doing as this review's been happening, she's been able to put in some structures because the culture is already healthy.
Exactly.
And I think as this 3-year plan gets built out, you'll just see that the progress will happen faster than normal because that culture is so good.
Exactly, and I think that's and I think the idea too of helping people who are in these roles be efficient with the administrative stuff, and like you're not having to reinvent the wheel because the structure and the system tools are there which can help with all of that behind the scenes kind of stuff. I think is gonna really pay off very quickly in terms of just all of the administrative time around the actual time with the kids. So that was that one reflection. And then the flip side of that, the frustrating thing on the money side of it is that so much of this is regulatory and required, and you can't really choose. Our choices are much more limited in this arena than in other areas of what we have decision-making authority over because of the statutory requirements and things like that, which I know can sometimes make it difficult of like, we have to pay a certain amount of our budget, and this is something we take to the state every year when we go, do our legislative visits, is a certain chunk of our budget just has to be dedicated because it's required in this arena. So
I definitely agree with you on the culture, that first part that you said. You can have all the systems and structures all in place, and if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And that is not to shift a culture, it takes like years. I'm coming in and everybody's ready to go, hitting the ground running. We need this. Okay, let's do it. Boom. And people are jumping in, and it's fantastic. What's been built here is it's phenomenal. For me to come in and be able to, feel like there's been a lot of progress, and because people are just stepping up. I'm not having to push people or do all the work myself. Because you can't do that either. So yeah, it's huge.
People have been hungry for this,
Yeah.
and needing that guidance, and we've seen ourselves fail the children, and I don't think anyone at these schools feels good about that. When a child leaves, whom we can't meet the requirements that we are obligated to do, so we're very lucky to have you coming in at this time where everyone, parents included, are just hungry for improvement. So this, to me, I am incredibly excited about this, fully supportive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Same.
It is exciting. I'm like, what can we do first? What can we do, Lori? This is really exciting.
I'll give you all a job. I'll email it to you in the morning. You're already doing it. You're on our advice too.
It's been great. So is Dr. Wade, is she now done with her report, and now she's done with us?
Yeah, and we're gonna meet a couple more times because there are some things surfacing, like some staff who brought up some points in the report, like, ooh, this feels a little, rough or raw or that kind of thing, and so we're gonna just work through some of those things too. Not do any revisions, but just sort of look at some of those things. We're gonna meet on Friday and talk through some of those. And then she's available too. She wants to, she's excited. She keeps calling me, how'd it go? So she's really excited because, having been in education for a really long time and seeing different settings, this is just exciting to her too, because she can see what's happening and the excitement that everybody has. So
I saw that at one of the meetings. She was very excited.
Yeah.
She likes it here.
Yeah, she does. It's perfect.
Thank you.
With the committee, the Special Education Advisory Committee, how do you feel that tone and the outcomes have changed from when you started to where we are today?
Oh, the tone's just been super positive since day one. There have been 3 meetings so far. I've just felt like everybody's just on board, ready to go. We've actually done a lot of work so far, just in 3 meetings. We're close to a district-wide definition for inclusion that we'll be pushing out to everybody and asking people to join on board, because there are still people out there that, that still have that sped general ed divide, and we need to bridge that. But for the most part, everybody's ready to go. We also we're prioritizing these. I did present this to them last week, and we are prioritizing, putting our priorities together about what people think. We also, and then through that vision process around the definition, we really dug into what people, what does inclusion look like? I would say taste like.
Taste like.
Yeah. Look like, look like, feel like, that kind of thing. And so and the group is just so dynamic, and it's such a great range of people from all different areas in our community. And it's just, for me, like when I go into that meeting, I always look forward to it and want to meet every week, but we can't do that. And it's just, just a great group of people that just want to do good and push the work forward.
That's great.
And it's happening.
I'd say that Lori's been doing a really remarkable job with that group. When we did a special ed town hall at the last year, and that was a tough meeting. It was, people had a lot of emotions. I think people had years of feeling not heard and not included and wanted to see change. So to your question, how have things changed from that meeting to the last meeting? It's been a 180. I think parents are feeling like they're getting to roll their sleeves up. I think the one thing that I would say is that some of those parents are like, we want to see the whole thing change like tonight, and systems change takes time. So I think just having a little bit of patience with making sure that we can grow deep roots with these changes and that they last for a long time. But it has been a 180 change from that town hall to this last meeting.
I would agree. I mean, it really, it's so nice to have the mix of people from the community, with parents and teachers and staff, because it's similar to the budget advisory committee where there's like this sense of community. Everyone is on the same page, like we all have the same goal. We're not pointing fingers. Like it does feel like we all have the same goal. So it really feels good. The culture is good.
Great to hear. I mean, it really does feel like these kinds of committees that we have, the equity committee, the budget advisory committee, and now the special education committee, are really active, engaged working groups of people that cross, like you said, as opposed to like watchdog groups or complaining sessions, like that they're really engaged. Everybody's in it to work and make it better, as opposed to I'm going to come here and then talk to those people over there to make them go do something, which is so awesome to hear that this is following in that footsteps.
Yeah. I put them to work. Yes.
So I was taking notes here as I was going, and Tyler actually addressed a few of them and took mine. I don't know if you're reading my notes and cheating. But I was just thinking, because I was at those town halls with Tyler. It was when he was first on board, and it was really uncomfortable. And I remember we had some discussions, the two of us, in meetings, and it was like, okay, do we do the special ed review now? Because clearly we need to have something happen and some changes to be made. Or should we hire someone for this position and then let them go through this review and kind of, so they whoever's in this position would be able to hear everything, absorb it and then implement it. And we kind of made the decision together, I think, to wait to do this until now. And I know it was a lot to throw at somebody right when they come on board, but you seemed like you were ready to go anyways, and so I didn't feel like it was gonna burden you, and it really doesn't feel like it was, hopefully. Yeah. But I'm just really glad that this has been done, and I'm really very much looking forward to having it implemented and seeing what the changes are coming. I'm very confident in your ability to get that done, because I feel like there's been so many shifts already since you've been here that I think this will be, I'm looking forward to see what you do with it. The recruitment or retention thing was the thing that Tyler jumped on, and I was like, oh! But what I really appreciate about this presentation is you took her report, which I spent a long time reading. That language was very difficult to read, and I read a ton, so that was really hard for me to read, just the language of it. I loved how your presentation broke down the most essential bits of it, because I feel like you captured it so concisely in so few slides, and I really appreciate that, because for me you distilled it to the most important parts. And it spent so long. I was like, I should have just looked at her presentation first, because it was kind of very hard for me to comprehend. Took a lot longer than it should have. And so I just want to say that. And then the other thing that really just popped out at me was the relationships piece. That was one of the highlights for me. I think that is like a huge thing you bring to this school district, is your ability to foster those, to grow them, all of that. I think you're excelling at that. And so I think that all of these together, we have all the elements we need to make these changes, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what they are and how fast and quickly we can implement them, and hopefully we can get the money to pay for them. We're gonna have to prioritize that, but I definitely feel really good seeing this now, and thank you for doing the work on it.
And gratitude to the parents that who do want to see it now, because what they're doing is they're planting trees in which their children will not benefit of the shade. You know, they want to see those results now, and having them stick around and help plan for kids so that other kids don't have to go through what their kids are going through. I think just appreciation to them for doing that. It's hard to look beyond your own children when these needs are being met the way you want them to at that moment. Because what you have here is great, but we can't just do it overnight. So
I have one individual I always sort of have on my side here who I go, ooh, what, like, you know, as we're moving forward, like, you know, such an advocate for inclusion, and and I always sort of run that, like, I think about that person and sort of a litmus test, like, what would they think of this? You know, I mean, just, you know what I mean? Just, but such an advocate, such a fierce advocate. So that's good. And and it's true, it does take time, and however, with the culture we have and the climate, it's gonna take less time because we have everybody in place.
you get the party tracks passed.
Alright, so we don't have any action on this one, so I'm gonna move us to our next agenda item unless we have any more comments here. Excuse me, I'm just coughing. Yes, thank you, Lori. Our next item is update on the Ross Valley School District National School Lunch and Breakfast Programs. And this is Chris's item.
This one is mine.
Excuse me.
And as we're bringing up the slide, I do have Jenny Wright is in the audience, and I wanted to say thank you to Jenny, because everything that's up here is really because of her hard work. Jenny works in the CNS arena for the district, and she is out serving meals every day and has been for years, in addition to helping families when they have a need to get meals ordered, whether it's in English or Spanish. She's right there helping them, and is somebody that is very valuable to the district and the community as a whole. So I just wanted to say thank you to her since she's here.
There's no way we could have implemented a new lunch program without Jenny Wright. No way. I mean, she is literally the heartbeat of the transition between the old program and this new program. And she works way harder than she probably should. And we're so lucky to have her on our team.
And everything that you're going to be seeing really comes from her. So last year,
inverted food. That's good.
This
like
isn't
it?
accurate though. It's already. Where's the meats?
The meat's on top, Rose, where it belongs with the yogurt.
So last year we were tasked with looking at our meal program, and we put it out for bid for RFP process, and we had two vendors that came forward. One was the Lunchmaster, a previous vendor, and Ordo was the one, after going through an extensive taste testing and looking at their financials and doing different things, that came out on top, and they were ultimately approved by the governing board in June. And I do have this particular food pyramid, and the reason I put it there in this format is because that's really how the National School Lunch Program is still structured. So it hasn't changed just yet.
Yeah, we need more meat.
So the breakfast and lunch meals that are served are done under the National School Lunch Program and the National Breakfast Program. And those are both federal programs, and Ordo hires a registered dietitian to ensure that all of our meals are prepared in accordance with those guidelines. And they send those recipes and the order information to our actual meal provider. And the meal provider who makes the meals is actually located here in Fairfax. So it's a locally based company. Every one of our meals is prepared in Fairfax for our students by a local company. They are served in biodegradable or recyclable containers, and these are some examples of what the lunch program meals would look like. Our breakfast program, you can kind of see what those look like off to the right. All of our meals have been met with a lot of excitement, both from the parents and the students, and they always want the food. They love it, and you bear that out in the data itself, and also in some of the words. I'm sorry, it didn't register it real well. It looked a little bit better on the actual presentation slide. But if you look at this, everything really revolves around two common themes. One is they love the food, and two is they love that it's not wrapped in plastic. So those are two themes that come through from the students themselves. And these are our words directly from them. Now, as we go forward, how do you actually look at the meal and determine how the program is doing as a program? And what you do is you look at what they call participation rates. Participation rates are meals served versus your enrollment. And so when looking at your participation rates, the higher the better, obviously. And so I wanted to show kind of a breakdown of our 24-25 and 25-26, both in breakfast and lunch by school. And so you'll see that in these next slides. And one of the things that you'll notice is that as you, let's just focus in on Brookside there for a moment, the 2 and the 24-25, our breakfast program is almost always lower than the lunch program in terms of participation percentages. They were at 20.98% in 24-25 for breakfast and 28.87 for lunch. And then you see them going forward into 25-26. They have grown in terms of both breakfast and lunch participation rates. It's not unusual and is what I would expect to see, that your breakfast participation is much lower than your lunch. That is standard across districts, generally speaking. And so you can see how each school site looks. And you can see that with Wade Thomas as well as White Hill here. One thing that's a little unusual, if you look at 24-25 for White Hill, they actually had breakfast participation that was higher than their lunch. For whatever reason, the kids avoided the lunch and they ate the breakfast.
From my anecdotes at White Hill, talking to students, the White Hill kids loved the cereal, which we don't offer anymore, and they hated every lunch option. So they all ran to get the cereal for breakfast, but they would all avoid the regular offerings for lunch like the plague. So it was kind of a, preference by the kids. But it's an interesting notice there, Chris.
I mean, Honey Nut Cheerios, yeah.
And all of this information was through the end of November. That was what we had available at the time that I was putting this together. Since then, Jenny's put together the December information. I just don't have it here.
And you can see in the White Hill participation, there isn't cereal this year as an option. And you see the breakfast actually went down. But we have better options for lunch, and it went, up almost doubled.
They don't like the overnight oats.
Yeah. And with that, I will say that since January, since the new year, Ordo has started serving breakfast cereals. So we should start to see that ticking up, but that literally is hot off of the presses. And I actually had a teacher talk to me about it this afternoon in the parking lot. Jenny and I caught an earful. So I just wanted to break it down like this. The next way I'm going to break it down, it's the same exact data. It's just shown in a different way. Mm-hmm. So this is just the breakfast. And what this is designed to show you kind of what is happening towards the breakfast program. You can see that Brookside had a growth in their meals served of about 3%. You see a much larger increase at Hidden Valley, 5%, 5.5%. Manor is relatively flat, and you see Wade Thomas actually a significant increase, and White Hill, as Tyler was referring to, actually dropped.
The serial drop off.
Exactly.
The serial clip.
And if you were to ask me what is your participation rate for breakfast, I would actually tell you our participation rate is 20.26%. I would defer out to the district level. So that's what that last piece of information is. And the reason that isn't going up as much as you would guess based upon the data on the left is really White Hill, and because White Hill is such a large number of students. So on the lunch side, you see even larger discrepancies. Not really discrepancies, increases in the meals served. So that's actually a positive. And so you see that across the board, across every single site. And as a whole, our lunch program has gone up almost 9%. So it's a fairly significant increase in our meals served.
Back to the participation rate, I remember last year when we were talking about this, there was this issue of signups, but then not getting them, picking up the meals that were ordered or people said, is participation rate true up for that? And so it's an actual representation of the kids who are getting the meals?
Correct.
Okay.
And so it's not
My kid is eating what your kid is not eating.
So there's not we had a conversation around waste, or like there's all these meals that we've ordered and then they don't get them because now they're so delicious and yummy and not plastic wrapped.
We still have
there's a lot of waste.
There is a lot of waste.
Okay.
And one of the things, so I was looking at this data early last week. And out of that information, I actually scheduled a meeting with Ordo last Friday. So Jenny and I both met with them, and we've already started talking about how we can address that.
Okay.
So that is something that is coming out of this whole process that should help us as well in the long run.
Yeah.
And they've been very receptive to the information, and this was actually something that was new to them. They're like, oh, okay, so now we see what your true participation rates look like, because we can see what meals are actually being picked up. We see why you want to meet with us. And it's to the point where they're actually going to come out. They haven't given us an exact date, but it is probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. They're going to come take a look at our program in meal service, and they're going to come look at us. And they just got a new account as well, Miller Creek. They're now serving their lunches as well. And so they're going to take a look at their program as well.
I think that's the one thing I will say, like, from a parent perspective or a kid perspective, most people are pretty happy. It's not perfect. It's still, a school lunch, and there's some challenges, but overall people are pretty happy. I think on the back end, with the technology and the communication with Ordo and some of the kinks that they're working out, it has been a very big challenge, just from inputting and signups. And I know Jenny's been working on this a ton, and Chris has as well. And Ordo has been good about taking feedback and receiving feedback and implementing it, but it has not been like a super easy transition on the back end.
Is it right that we were the first account in California?
We were one of the first.
One of the first, right?
They had other accounts, but they were private schools.
Right.
But
so
in
it
terms
makes sense.
of
Yeah.
But the other thing that I do want to say, and I would be remiss if I didn't also thank Sean Maher in our IT department. Sean has done a tremendous amount of work with Jenny, the two of them. And Sean he's really good at databases, and he helped put together a database where we can take their data as a data download and get it onto touch screens so that we can start to track our meals, every single meal service. So when they're out at each of the schools, they can touch the screen if the kid has picked it up. And
it makes service significantly faster. There used to be a paper system like this where you would have to, leaf through, what grade are you in, and get to the second grade page and cross that off. And this touch screen that Sean and Jenny have implemented has made that a lot more efficient.
And as a parent, Sheila texts me every Wednesday
I got it as well.
Which is,
Yeah.
it's really helpful.
It is.
Sheila at Ordo, don't forget, school lunch orders are due tonight by
Do you know who Sheila
11:59.
is?
Thank you, Sheila.
Do you know Sheila?
I think Sheila's a bot.
Sheila's an avatar.
I had a relationship with her. I felt like I connected. Weird. But that is super helpful, and I hope that, I'm sure that helps some parents that are busy, like, oh, that's right, I gotta do this.
It reminds me every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And if I had forgotten to order for my child, it would, oh, let me go do it.
Yeah,
So it gives that
super easy.
reminder.
So will the data then be able to track like, I'm gonna call them frequent flyers, like kids and families who have a pattern of ordering and not picking up, so that you can do some differentiated targeted messaging to like, hey, we've noticed that, you know, you've been ordering these meals and not picking them up. Is there anything we can, like, nudging people to, you know, help us not waste meals?
Because we track it by student, we have the data in the back end, but I talked to Sean about it Wednesday night, and by Thursday morning, 8:30, he had the database set up so that we could see that data.
Awesome.
I got a call from Marlena about that.
Yeah. Not Sheila.
Not Sheila. Marlena Wade.
A real person.
Because Reed, it was defaulting.
Yeah.
Is that thing fixed? We can talk about that later.
There is a whole issue about that as well.
Reed wasn't wanting salads. It was automatically signing up for him for salads.
Okay.
So that was it. They're working that out. But anyway, there was a lot of wasted salad. Oh, not wasted though, because apparently they're really good. So they were getting eaten by
somebody else's.
Chris's kids were coming over and grabbing it.
Right. I mean, Reed, not by Reed, but other people were eating the salad. His salads.
Yeah. So that's
great. Sounds like there's a lot of different fronts of working on this, from the technology side to the behavioral side with the kids to the operational side with Ordo, which is great.
QC, is there a way that QC is done on the quality of the lunches to ensure that there's not a drop-off in participation? And if so, how does that work with informing Ordo, like, hey, these aren't as good as they've been in the past. The kids aren't liking it and they're not gonna order it. Do you have a system like that in place to ensure that we keep that participation level high?
So that's a really good question. We haven't gotten to that point just yet because we're still trying to work out the kinks because it is a newer system. That is one of the things that I want to be able to eventually start to get to, is where we can share that level of information. One of the things about Ordo is they're based back in the Midwest and we're in California. And I know we're still in the same United States, but tastes are different in the two states. And you can see it in the food as well. And so I think it's only a matter of time before, going back to your point, Chris, that those orders will start to minimize. And I know we have seen fewer kids. There was a big rush at the beginning because it was something new and fresh. And so everybody wanted it. And so the number of meals have started to tend down. But what we don't want to do is, in the long term, have those numbers drop below the lunch master.
You know, as a parent who orders the lunches, there have been rumblings of quality dropping. Just letting you know so that you're prepared for the kids that are like, I used to like them, but they weren't as good last time. You know how kids are. Once it's bad, they never go back, right? So, and I think also one of the principals at the schools noted the same thing. They were kind of like, looks like it's kind of dropping off in terms of quality. So I just wanted to put that out there that we might want to stay on top of it, especially these numbers are wonderful and we'd like to see them continue to go up, right? Then maybe we should keep an eye on it. I don't know how you can, but you know.
One of the things that you could do is maybe survey the children later on in the year as a way to look at it. So that might be an alternative for us
And the
moving forward.
kids are not shy from sharing their opinions on the food. So if you just
that's all I got the information.
if you just sit and like, some of our principals are serving lunches. I mean, they're hearing which ones get ordered, or I don't like that one anymore. So we can just collect that data. I mean, it's anecdotal data, but we can collect it from the principals. And I think the lunch provider here in Fairfax has been wonderful with feedback. So if something needs to change and it's still within the guidelines, I think that's a relatively easy fix.
The other part too that was interesting of that with like behavioral behavioral economic noodling about how people make decisions, and whether making sure that we're teasing out quality control related drop off, like the pasta's drier than it was before or the pizza is colder than it was before, to kind of the effect of newness versus kids being like, the third time I've had the pizza, it's not as good. Well, it's not really that the pizza has changed, it's just not new kind of thing. And so there may also be some feedback of like, if you just switch things up and call things new, everybody loves that. Even though it's not a actual quality control thing, but it's a thing that keeps everyone interested and engaged. I don't know how to address that, but I wouldn't want to give them false feedback about quality if it's really the mindset and kind of a behavioral trend that's just a normal thing that people do. So just keeping that in mind.
And kind of dovetailing onto your point, Chris, the teacher that caught us in the, out in the parking lot this afternoon was also talking that very same point. And so that was something that I was going to just have a conversation with Ordo about and start getting a feel for what is their meal pattern going to look like, because the meal pattern shouldn't stay the same throughout the entire year as well. It should be changing based upon the types of fruits and vegetables that are available.
And here's a recommendation. I know we don't have kitchens, right, which is a problem because we can't do the hot lunch. But as a swim team mom, Good Earth makes breakfast burritos, and they're kept in these oven boxes. And if Ordo can produce breakfast burritos with eggs and protein in the morning, and they're kept in those warm boxes, which is a minimal investment compared to getting a full-on kitchen, right? That might be able to add more nutrition, more protein to the correct food pyramid, and sort of alleviate that stress of it's cereal, it's overnight oats, which the kids don't really like, right? And the breakfast little bars. So I think we can think about outside the box basically on how we can do that in a cost-effective way, huh?
In the hot box.
In the hot box.
In the boxes
Think inside the hot box.
Think inside of the heating box.
Because I mean, I've seen hundreds of kids fed and parents fed at swim team meets in that way, and it works. That's a solution.
Do you have any more questions for Chris? No? All right. Any public comment? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the board. I do want to say thank you to Chris and to Jenny.
Yes.
Yes.
I know that there's a huge workload there. Thank you for keeping our kids fed.
It's great.
Yes. All right, so this does not require a vote. Do we have any more discussion here?
I just want to say that I think that the time that we spend on this is really valuable because the social stigma of school lunches, I don't know honestly what it is today. And when I was a kid, it was real bad. And I really try to encourage, even if my kids say it's gross, I'm like, you're picking, like, it makes my life easier. And to normalize school lunches, I feel like is extremely important. And so I think that that's a reason in itself to put energy into this, that we are having good quality nutrition, absolutely. And also that we're not singling any child out.
Yeah.
I feel like this is extremely important that so thank you, Chris, for the time you put on this, because it's just important for all of our kids, our other schools.
I went to school in the 1800s. And the lunch lady, the pan pizza was that was the thing. If you didn't get your pan pizza, you lost out.
On Fridays, we only had pan pizza on Fridays.
And Salisbury Steak Tuesdays. And it was just this joyful, wonderful, like, oh my God, today is pizza day at Salisbury Steak. No one had the stigma. And maybe, I don't know where it came from, but
Somewhere between the 1800s and the
1998, March 1st.
The 1950s.
But I think that this is removing that,
Yeah.
because the kids are really running for the food. Really appreciate this.
They do run for it at White Hill also.
Yeah.
They have to get to the line early.
Yeah. Chicken finger day.
Drinking fountain. Okay. So moving to our next item. We have recommended approval of resolution 032526 and the annual accounting of the 2024-25 developer fees in Fund 25, Government Code Section 66001D and 66006B. And this is also Chris, go ahead.
So this was also presented to the Board of Trustees at the December meeting. And basically what we have to do is provide the public the ability to see it for a minimum number of days. And so all you're doing now is just approving the resolution. And this is one of those things that we have to do annually where we provide an accounting of our developer fees that we receive for anybody who pulls a permit on new construction.
Do we have any questions for Chris? No? All right. Do we have any public comment? All right. I'll bring it back to our board. Any discussion on this one? Those routine things. Okay, take a look at this.
No
motion?
questions, no discussion. I'd be happy to make a motion to approve. Make a motion to approve resolution 032526 and the annual accounting of the 2024-2025 developer fees in Fund 25.
I will second that.
Lovely. And Shelley.
Aye.
Chris.
Hi.
Daniel.
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Rachel. Aye. Okay. There we go. So our next item is ratify agreement with DUDEC to perform California Environmental Quality Act compliance services for the Brookside Bridge project. Chris, go for it. Keeping you busy tonight.
Yes. So this is to ratify the CEQA process that we need to undertake for the bridge. And there is a small period to get this done. It will be incorporated into the bid that we are in the process of putting together right now. We will have that out for the bridge by the end of this month. And we also are at a point where we're just waiting for the final approval of the actual approved DSA drawings. So we'll include the current drawings as they are, and then if there are any changes to the DSA drawings, we would just make an amendment to our bid as well. So everything will be incorporated to that. And at this particular point, we are also looking at timelines for the construction of the bridge itself. I might be purchasing the bridge ourselves for construction. We did an agenda item to sole source it to a certain vendor. If we can't get it, if the lead times extend too far out where we can't get the project done during the summer, we would go ahead and purchase it ourselves and ensure that the bridge is also part of that bid. But at this particular juncture, we anticipate and expect the bridge project to be done this summer.
This is one of those projects that's like, you know, some of these things we can kind of squeeze in at Thanksgiving break or get done over the, you know, winter break or ski week or, you know, any of those other week-long things. But this one is big enough that it's like a summer thing. So if we don't hit the target this summer, it waits till the next summer. And I think Chris and I both have a lot of urgency, which I know you all do too, to get this thing done for safety reasons. And we've been talking about it for 18 months. So we need to get this one done. And the timelines are really important here.
In looking at the proposal and the proposed budget, is this with school districts? Is it similar where you've got either a negative declaration or a amended or modified declaration, or you have to do a full CEQA? I'm assuming that this is anticipating like not having to do like a full-blown CEQA massive thing. I don't know if it's the same with school districts as it is with regular construction, because when we were.
It is, and they're gonna have to look at certain things. We're not actually doing construction within the creek itself, so we're not gonna have any issues with that part of it. All we're doing is removing what's there.
Okay.
But because it goes into the creek itself, there'll have to be some mitigation, things that will have to be done, and that is all part of it.
But do we, at the end of the assessments, do they then come up with like a negative declaration, meaning no impact, mitigated declaration, meaning some impact, but we can mitigate it, and then like, oh no, you have to do a full sequel, which can be really expensive on the construction. Like, do we have a heads up on kind of what direction?
It
or
will
we
not
won't
be.
know that until they do all the assessment?
We won't know that, but because we're not touching the creek itself, we don't anticipate a full sequel. And before we brought this to you, we'd also provided all of the documentation from the project architect to Dudek.
Okay.
So they've seen all of the architectural drawings, they know everything that's there.
Okay.
And we don't anticipate that. But so yes, it will have something
either
like.
mitigated or negative.
Yes.
Depending is kind of where it
Yes.
works. Okay, that's what I was assuming based on what I was thinking, but making sure.
So if they come back and one of the sequel barriers could be that they come back and indicate that a metal bridge would harm whatever micro antique frog they found in the water that we didn't know existed. If that is the case, the prefabricated bridge option becomes a problem, correct? And do we have, what have we thought about, like I don't know, I'm a risk manager, I think what could possibly go wrong and how can I prepare for that? And I'm just wondering, are we thinking about having our go forward plans obliterated because of some finding by CEQA that keeps us from doing a prefabricated steel bridge?
Yeah, I don't anticipate that because we've had prefabricated bridges put over that creek within maybe half a mile of our site within the last year.
Okay.
You can see it when you drive up to Hidden Valley. You look to the right and there is I think that's part of how we got the.
It's on Butterfield. I went and talked to the owners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the house on
They have a
Butterfield
metal
that had the metal put in,
prefab bridge
the
there,
White
yeah.
House.
Across Bon Tempe and Alpine Dam, I hiked there this weekend. There were like 3 or 4 of these prefabricated steel.
Great.
So if the watershed is using them.
If the watershed's using them, then I'm not worried about the creek that the coyotes pee in.
And the way we've had to do it in order to get through the Department of Geological Survey is, in essence, we're not touching the actual creek. We're not putting the bridge into the creek sides.
Yeah, but it's the runoff.
Yeah, it's the runoff that would be.
This is my first time going, this is just bonkers. Like the timing, the costs, like all and we still don't have a bridge. It's just bonkers. That's all. I'm done.
Is that a question?
No, that's a statement. That's a statement.
We haven't gone for comment yet.
Come on.
Oh.
Gonna save your statements for later.
Before we go to the next section, the one thing I will say is this is the first bridge that the architects have done. That DSA has done in many, many years. Our architects have done one other bridge, and so it's one of those things that you don't see very often, and that's led to some of the longer periods.
I got a question. Can't Johnny just do this? Like, what would Johnny do? WWJD. I got a wristband. Like, what would Johnny do? That's my question.
It would have been done last summer.
It would have.
You any more questions for Chris? Okay. Any public comment? No? No comments, okay. All right, now we can make comments up to the board discussion up here. All right.
I just want to say thanks, Chris. This is it is a insane process. The number of hoops you have to jump through to get something, and the fact that it's a Blue Line Creek only makes it harder. So, I appreciate the fact that you're moving with urgency to get this done by the summer, and I apologize that it's been such a circus to get to this point.
Yeah, I was also gonna say.
CFO.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Appreciate.
Should we name it the
like...
Chris Carson Bridge?
Chris Carson Bridge.
What we should do is sell naming rights for it.
Oh,
That's a great idea.
fundraiser!
That's a great idea.
Hey, that is
Yeah,
great.
just, it's
You
cutting
won't
the
be able to
power
do that.
off. It's cutting the power off and disrupting that, and so you can only do it in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And so the good news is that we have 9-week window. Yeah.
But huge appreciation knowing that this like the multiple hats that you wear as a staff person. In addition, like we
It's
just
a
did the
contract.
audit, and now we're doing a bridge, and it's the same person, right? So really, I mean, we are hugely appreciative and lucky that we've got someone who can like.
But wait, there's more. There's school lunches.
Yes, and of course, and then there's lunches. So really
Okay.
appreciate your ability to take on so many different things, and it's really difficult. That's why it
Bonkers.
seems bonkers.
But Rachel just made a really good throwaway comment. Like, why? Like,
I'm serious, and
like-
that's going on later board topics, so
Great.
discuss it then.
great.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
So do you need us to ratify this agreement?
I do need some sort of motion on this one.
Okay.
Does someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to ratify the agreement with DUDEC, is it? To perform the California Environmental Quality Act compliance services for the Brookside Bridge project.
Great, do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Chris.
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Shelley.
Aye.
Rachel. Aye. All right, thank you, Chris. And our next one here is recommended approval of amendment number 8 to the lease agreement, Red Hill School and San Anselmo Montessori School located at 100 Shaw Drive, San Anselmo, California, extending the term of the lease through June 30th, 2031. Oh my gosh, Chris show, go ahead.
I'm actually going to turn it over to
Oh, okay.
Tyler.
Great. Give me something to do tonight. Yeah, so we are gonna extend the lease to for Red Hill, right actually behind us, to San Anselmo Montessori for another 5 years. They've been wonderful tenants for us for quite some time actually. And we went back and forth a little bit earlier this fall, just about some of the terms, and I think one of the things they were looking for was stability. So a 5-year term gives them some stability, and we're excited to have this agreement in place.
Any questions? Trustees?
It looks like the only thing that is being amended is just the time frame.
Yep.
That we don't have any other terms or anything that's
Terms
changing.
on the
That's
side.
right.
Any other questions? Anna, you're making faces. Do you have a question?
Oh. I mean, we talked about this already, right? Didn't we? A while ago? Did we talk about this? No? Different? Okay. Confusing it with something else. What, just, if we didn't agree to, if we didn't lease it to them, what would the alternative be?
Likely the location would be empty and we would lose the revenue.
It's not a desirable.
No.
Okay. That was my
The other thing is we could potentially put it out to bid and then see who else would come to bid. And the bidding process for schools, I'm finding as a relatively new superintendent is really interesting, where it's kind of a blind process where you kind of have a floor and then people put their bids in, and whatever the largest bid is, that's who it is. So that person,
Right.
there's just complications in there, and to have a known entity like Sam's, we've got families that some of those kids actually come to our TK program after, so just that known entity is great. They want to be here. We want to have them. They're educating kids that are in our community, that go to our schools. So it's a good agreement, and keeping them around for another 5 years is wonderful.
Okay. So if we went out to bid, potentially it could be less income.
Or a complicated tenant that doesn't meet the spirit of what we do as a district. Big Five sporting goods, maybe?
Yeah. And I think, you know, if you also think about this is a preschool program that's serving little kids, and to end an agreement with them and kick them out and go out to bid and like it's not really something we're interested in doing as a district. They're great tenants, let's keep them there, let's keep the kids and families that are attending there happy and give them a little bit of stability for them to do long-term planning.
Absolutely. I am not suggesting we kick them out. I just, to clarify, I just wanted to, hear what the other option would be.
Yeah.
For all of our listeners out there that were curious, now you know. How many listeners do we
This is Trumbull over
They're
there.
so cute too.
Yes.
Here, we have any
Okay, thank you.
any more questions? No? Any public comment on this one? No? Okay, no public comment. Do I have any discussion up here from the board?
I will make a motion.
Go ahead. Please feel free.
To amend number 8 to lease to the San Anselmo Montessori School. Did I get all that? Hold on.
Wait,
Did I miss something?
yeah, there's like a approval.
Approval
Yeah.
of amendment number 8 to the lease agreement to San Anselmo Montessori School.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Anna?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Rachel? Aye. Okay. Thank you for bringing that on board. Our next item is F, consent actions. We can approve this all in one motion unless somebody would like to pull one out or anything out for discussion or questioning, if you have any of those. If not, I'll entertain a motion if we do not have any public comment on this item. No? Do we have any comments here? Nothing? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion on this if someone would like to make one, since nobody said they wanted to pull anything out. Does someone like to make a motion tonight? Would someone like to make a motion on the consent action items?
Oh, I was just looking.
Yeah, I'll make them.
I'm sorry, if you're still looking, go ahead.
No,
I don't
no,
want to
no.
rush you. No. Please take your time.
Making sure I didn't miss any of them.
I know, I'm having a hard time with how do you get yours condensed?
I don't know. Just the way it shows up.
I'll make a motion to approve all the consent action items in one.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Hannah?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Rachel, aye. Still Tyler's computer. Okay, our next item is,
Board business. G.
is it? Okay, hold on. Okay, next item is board business, and the first one here is committee updates, reports from, and announcements by trustees. So,
Looks like you're first, Dana.
yeah, report.
We had another challenging but effective budget advisory committee meeting last week, 2 weeks ago.
Last week.
Yeah, it's getting real, but it's a great representation in the room. Probably 25 people there, right across teachers, principals, staff, parents. Yeah, it's not fun, but it's an effective discussion. Starting to plan for Golden Bell Awards in May. So met yesterday or 2 days ago with MCOE. Those will be at Dominican, I think on May 21st. So everybody will get more information about those. That event, awesome event. If nobody's been, it's a really fun celebration of the teachers across Marin County. And you won't believe this, they actually get a Golden Bell. Yeah, I know. It's in the name. It's in the name. Any Golden Bell winners here? Ooh, we got three. We got a couple in the nice.
Lisa last year.
Oh, that's right. 4. I think that's it. Also, the 6th grade girls White Hill basketball team's undefeated so far. Looking pretty good. I might have a heart attack. We've won the past 2 games by a combined 2 points.
Can you give an update on your talk about the tech use?
Oh, well, yeah. So I've gotten more involved in introducing technology responsibly to kids. right? Jonathan Haidt's book on the anxious generation. He just launched a new book. It's a graphic novel for 4th graders to 9th graders about the amazing generation. It's awesome. My 6th grader's reading it. She goes, Dad, did you know like depression has gone up in the past 15 years for girls? I was like, no, that's amazing. Why? She goes, well, it's, she goes, also, do you know what FOMO means? Like, no, tell me more. She's like, it's the fear of missing out. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
She didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, 6th graders, she doesn't have FOMO.
I mean, it's an acronym. I thought they knew all of it.
I don't know. She lives in a cave. So I've been with some other people with kids in real life and Screen Sense. We've been leading talks across Ross Valley. I've spoken to St. Anselm's parents, facilitated conversations among St. Anselm's parents, partnering with somebody at the charter school who's got students at St. Anselm's in the charter, Hidden Valley, Manor, Brookside, and Wade Thomas. So we've got people all school ages trying to have conversations with parents of the 3rd grade parents. Let's have a conversation about how are you introducing tech in your kid's life? And there's no judgment. Nobody knows what we're doing, right? But what are some of the things that you are doing that might be helpful for your child? Or what's maybe hurtful that you've seen? And so just having parents create this community, because as they get into 5th grade, 6th grade, everybody has a phone. I need a phone. So just trying to spread that word that Mill Valley, actually, last year, a group of parents in the 5th grade, it started with one person, as it always does, said, hey, why are we giving cell phones to our 5th grades at graduation? That's crazy. There's some research here that says that might not be the healthiest thing. Let's try to create a movement. And so this year, the current 6th grade students at Mill Valley Middle School, 19% of them have some type of smartphone. 75% of the 7th graders do, and 85% of the 8th graders do. Incredibly successful, immediate, overnight for the 6th grade class. Attention, conversations, involvement, enjoyment, kids playing. The parents have seen such awesome results from the 6th grade class now. They're going and now talking to the 5th grade parents now. This is what we want to do. We want to create this movement. And so we're trying to figure out how, or I'm trying to figure out how we do that for our students here. And if you need a phone, great, get a phone. Flip phones might work, watches might work. It's the unmitigated access to the internet that is the challenge for kids and adults. How many of us have installed and uninstalled Instagram in the past couple of months, right? And we're somewhat fully functioning adults. And so how do we help just let parents know, hey, we're in this together. What are some things that we want, if our kids are hanging out, what are some rules that we want to agree to? If Chris picks up my kid at school, I know she's going to wear a seatbelt on the drive home.
And I'm not going to give him cigarettes.
And you're not going to give him cigarettes, right? But what are the rules for YouTube? And it's good to have the conversation because we've not had the conversation. And so I'm just facilitating a lot of these conversations across.
And I appreciate you driving it back to, it's data driven. It's not just like we shouldn't have our kids on phones because it doesn't make any sense and it's ridiculous and it's dangerous. It's data driven that short-term content, YouTube, TikTok, it is actually causing deeper ADHD symptoms, sleeplessness for children, anxiousness, and depression. And that's data. And we need to have that communicated. And I really appreciate you putting those efforts out there in our community.
Yeah, so we just, John Baker just sent an email out today to the 6th grade parents at Whitehill. Hey, a group of parents want to get together and just chat about this. How are we doing this responsibly and in moderation? And what are some things that we're learning? And so I'm going to be pretty nervous on February 10th because I don't know what the reaction, who's going to, what if I'm the only one in the room? I'm not going to be the only one in the room, but still, it's not everybody agrees with this because it's easy and we've done it for so long and that's just how our kids have done it. That's okay.
You mentioned once there was something called like wait till 8. How's
Yeah,
that?
wait till there's like phone packs, wait till 8.
That
But
means
again,
wait till 8th grade.
wait till 8th grade before you give your kid a smartphone.
After 8th grade is really.
But again, more research is coming out. You can't go from 0 to a smartphone in 8th grade.
Right. So it kind of.
Woohoo! Look at this. So how do we again introduce this responsibly and with some type of knowledge behind? Hey, here's some of the things you might want to do online. It can be a rocket ship. You can learn to play tennis from Serena Williams. You can also doom scroll for 3 hours from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? And so just, again, having those conversations with parents is what we're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Chris.
Alright.
I think that.
Alright, updates and
Sorry.
Yeah.
and community updates and announcements. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. I also went, yes, Budget Advisory Committee. It feels very real if partial tax does not pass, right? We talked about if it does not pass in June, if it does not pass in November, there's a plan. We do not want to implement that plan. So we all know what to do there. We need it to pass. Also the Special Ed Advisory Committee, that's been wonderful, as we talked a whole bunch about. Yes, went to the Yes board meeting. We are at district-wide 70%.
That's wild.
Yes, higher than it's been in, long time, which is fantastic. Yeah, really on all fronts, like merchandise, school participation, like everything is, the events. They are still very much looking for anybody who wants to do parties with a purpose. So if you know anybody, think about that. And then of course all the plays are happening, right? Annie was that the one? No, Manners was last weekend. And then Wade's is coming up. Anyway, very exciting. So there's a lot going on. The Yes board, I'm just gonna say, so I'm like the liaison, but the voting members of the board, they are fantastic. I've been really enjoying being at those meetings. They're all just so passionate, as they should be, about arts in our schools. So that's been really exciting to see, and really using their individual talents on that board, which is cool. Yeah, and Lisa's really, she's great. If people want, a lot of people have asked me, like, cause she doesn't seem like, I can't, like, can I just email her? I'm like, yeah, you can just email any board member ever about anything. Because she's got a lot of great ideas. So the goal is, I've heard rumors that they're trying to get past the $1 million goal. So, and they think they can do it. So we will see. I think it's just a rumor that I'm spreading now. Let's see, what else? I'm sure there's other things, but I feel like it's a lot. I feel like January, like we're hitting it hard on all fronts in our district. All right, who's next?
Shelley, you want to?
Missed the JLAX. I'm hoping great. So I was hoping to hear about it from Tyler. He also puts together the missed this meeting. And then that was my main thing. I've got 2 coming up here, so I'll have more to say next meeting.
Chris,
Yeah, there was a Safe Routes to School meeting in January where they presented an update on the Marin County School Access Safety Action Plan. They discussed priority corridor projects for Fairfax, San Anselmo, and the unincorporated areas. They've got these 2 projects, 15-mile-per-hour school zones they're putting in, and Vision Zero for the unincorporated parts. And there's some upcoming activities for education and encouragement programs, specifically at our schools. They're talking about the illegal use of the e-bikes, and they also done it at Archie as well. And that's had some great reception. And we got some updates from San Anselmo on the progress of some of the funded projects for road improvements and bike lane expansion. That's it for my committees.
Let's see what I have. Gosh, it was crazy. But after the December board meeting, I went to the Brookside and Manor sing-alongs, which is kind of fun. Get to see the schools and their different, like, it's interesting to see how excited the kids got about different songs in each school, which is really shocking because they pretty much do the same repertoire at every school. I did a trustee coffee chat on December 21st, which is like, hey, here I'm gonna be here. And a lot of people saw it, so I know that a lot of people saw the post, but nobody came. So I'll keep doing those because I'd like to have people have the opportunity to not have to come and sit at a board meeting to talk to us. So I will keep doing those probably every other month, if not more often. I had a call with a company called Instrumental. It's a grant writing software company. Like I said, I'm looking at like all kinds of avenues for us to increase finances or revenues. And in this case, it's like a program where you like input your information about whatever you're looking for grants, and then it goes and finds matches for you for grants, and it helps you like apply to it, and it has this thing where you can use all these templates for it. And so I spent a good hour talking to this guy, going through the whole thing. It might be something that might be better suited to yes, but they do work with school districts. They've worked with Kentfield. In fact, one of the things that they showed me was like, hey, type in a school district you know that has a foundation. You can see what other school districts or their foundations have pulled funding from. And so you know that they will give money to similar organizations. And so it was just like a different kind of way to look at it. Just to see like where we might be getting opportunities for more income, even if it's grants, which is not as sustainable as other options. It's still more money, and it might like I plugged in stuff for like a TK classroom supply thing, and they're like, you already have matches for this. I was like, oh, I mean, and I just dummied that up, and it took me like 10 minutes. So something I'll looking at a little bit further, and I might end up passing over to yes. But you know, they might work for us too, so we're looking into that. I went to the League of Women Voters Library and Education Committee meeting last week, and Shelley was there.
I forgot about that one.
So they're doing just like their planning for the year, but in that, because part of their thing is like educating the public about voting things and issues like that, they asked about our school district and the possibility of a parcel tax next year. We haven't voted on it yet, but just gave them like the reasoning and timing and stuff like that we might possibly have, and just told them about our special board meeting next week, and then how we have something probably in our February meeting. We met with MCOE, a couple of representatives from them, Shelley and I, and Tyler and Chris, about in lieu property taxes, just like a discussion, a chance to basically like grill them about financials for school districts and specifics about like in lieu property taxes and how that actually impacts their budget, and just like inflows and outflows of students and how those things kind of affect our bottom line. So that was really helpful. I was thankful that they were open to talking to us. I feel really good because Shelley and I feel like we were pretty well informed about most of that, so it wasn't anything shocking or revelatory. I talked to the superintendent at the Buckeye Unified School District, Dr. David Roth. He sent some information to Tyler a couple months ago, I think, or maybe just last month. He reached out to Tyler and several other districts because he put together some research and created a website which focuses on LCFF funding, and he sorted it out so you can see which school districts are underfunded, which by his definition of it's like you're a certain amount below what the average school districts make in California as far as LCFF revenues. And so we were identified as, because we're in the bottom 4%, he's like obviously identified us. And so he reached out to Tyler, and then I looked at all his data and I was like, I want to talk to this person a little bit more. So we spent an hour on the phone talking, and he just told me a little bit about his research and how there are actually 3 other school districts in Marin County who are all in the same boat, and just kind of what he's trying to do. Something that I learned while I was talking to him is that, you know, there's a lot of us, but we're all kind of small school districts, and we're not very well represented in Sacramento. And he mentioned like LA Unified School District has on staff a full-time person, like a lobbyist, that makes sure that there are like things that are being passed in Sacramento that are beneficial to their district specifically. That's their whole job. And so his I guess reason for reaching out to the other superintendents was to see if he could get maybe a broader coalition of districts who are being, you know, suffering underneath the LCFF calculations to see if maybe we can band together to like make a little more change so it's more equitable across the board.
Like have one lobbyist represent all of us?
That's a possibility, yeah, he mentioned. So things like that, but it's basically like the more voices you have saying something, the more impact you're gonna have. So I spent time talking to him. One of the things that I've been doing after talking to him is I did reach out to the board presidents of the other 3 school districts in Marin County that are affected similarly to us. I think we might be in the bottom of those who were affected. But it was like Novato, Center Fell, Miller Creek. I've heard back from 2 trustees at Miller Creek already. So I think we're gonna try and see what we can do just locally here to see what we can make shift happen, like the shifts kind of happen here. And then, not necessarily directly related to RVSD, I went to the mock trial scrimmage that Archie Williams had last night at this county courthouse, which is fascinating to watch. But I thought, like, how incredible is it to watch this? While I was there, one of the security guards, because it's a courthouse, there's security checkpoints, and when the security guards came up to me and the teacher who was running it, and he said, I have a 10-year-old and he's really interested in this, but it's not accessible for him when it's like attorneys that he sees and like adults. He's like, but seeing the high school students would be really great for my son. Is it okay if he comes on Saturday? And the teacher's like, yeah, I don't see why not. I think that'd be great. And I was thinking like, oh my gosh, what if there's kids at our middle school or our elementary schools who are interested? So I just wanted to like say it out loud in case there's anybody listening. Maybe. But I just thought what a great opportunity, because I thought it was great to watch. Like I learned a ton, but like it would be very inspirational, I think, for some kids to see that. So that was my last piece.
Can I rewind one quick second from the League of Women Voters?
Yeah.
Which dovetails with your conversation about coalition and coming together. One of the things that the League is interested in and is interested in helping in is doing some just general education around public funding of schools, like how does school funding work? Because one of the things that we had talked about was every district at some point has to do parcel taxes and bonds, and the more we can get the general public, for all of us, understanding how stuff is funded, the better. And if we could do that all together, it'll be less expensive, and it's a common messaging type of thing. So they were thinking that would actually be a perfect thing for the League of Women Voters to be involved in, is helping with that kind of common messaging around here's how public schools are funded, dispelling myths like don't you have enough money from the lottery, and all those kinds of things that we had heard of the misgivings and the misunderstandings and all those things. So hopefully we can keep working with them to maybe help do some, and they might even come and make a presentation and help us. So we should look at what, and we can help them format, or we can help inform what are they frequently asked questions and things like that from what we're working on right now to help people understand about it. So that hopefully will help.
Okay. All right, so moving on, thank you. We have the approval of regular meeting minutes for December 17th, 2025. Does anybody have any changes, questions, all of those? No?
I looked over it. Unless anybody has anything.
Do we need public comment on this one? No? Okay. So if we don't have any comment, I'm happy to.
I'd make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for December 17th.
Lovely.
Second.
Thank you, Shelley.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Anna. Aye. Rachel. Aye. Thank you, Teresa. Our next item is superintendent cabinet reports.
Great. I feel the same thing Anna was saying, January, coming back and just hitting the ground sprinting. And we'll be sprinting until June, so hopefully everyone's lungs are ready for it. Budget advisory committee meeting I thought went really well. I mean, given the severity of the conversation, the culture in the room is like about as good as you could think. People are, collaborative and sharing their thoughts, and it's really, really great. SPED advisory meeting I thought went really well as well. It was fun to be a participant there. I went to the Yes Board meeting and presented just kind of like the budget overview and what the kind of conversation around the parcel tax will be, so that was helpful for other parent leaders to get that. I'll be going to Wade Thomas, actually with Anna on Friday, to do a similar presentation to the Wade Thomas parents at a coffee chat there. We finalized CSEA negotiations, which I am really proud of. I feel like what we've done with CSEA has been, really great over the last few years, and the relationship we have with our union partners is really strong. Even given our financial situation, I feel like the union leadership understands where we're at and is willing to link arms with the board and us to make sure that we have the right revenue to run our district in the way our community wants it to be run. Last week I visited Wade Thomas twice. It was really nice. I got to go in the classrooms with Julia, which was really fun. And I went to like a science fair thing on Friday, which was really great. Just fun to be around the kids, and I'm known as the Super Nintendo over by a few Wade Thomas. So I feel like a mild celebrity when I walked onto the Wade Thomas campus.
I heard you got electrocuted.
There's
rumors.
That's rumor. And then I did attend JLAC. They talked a little bit about funding. There are some bills that are floating around. AB 1204, which I think a few of us have sent letters to our state reps about AB 1204, which would be helping with a regional cost of living inflator, which would help Santa Clara, San Mateo, and Marin counties in particular, who are kind of impacted by this effect of these deep basic aid school districts right next to districts like us that are kind of at the bottom of the state funding barrel. The one disappointing thing that came up in JLAC is there is a bill that talks about funding schools by enrollment rather than attendance, and the Legislative Analyst's Office came out with kind of a little bit of what I considered a scarring remark about it, and the total cost of the state of California would be an additional $6 billion. So they basically said that we shouldn't do that. One thing I'll say about that is that the intent of attendance-based funding is to encourage districts and principals and district offices and boards to make sure kids are coming to school so they can learn. Like the intent is right. But then when you look at the data between states that have attendance-based funding and states that have enrollment-based funding, the attendance rates really aren't any different. They're 95 to 97%, and that's kind of what it is. Kids don't come to school when they're sick for the most part, and that's about what it is. So that was disappointing to hear, but we will continue to do state advocacy. I think it's a really important thing that we're doing more and more of here. To that end, was going back and forth with David Roth, the superintendent of Buckeye Union that Rachel was just talking about today. And I have two superintendents and myself are going to meet with him coming up to talk about how we can continue to advocate at the state level, because the LCFF really it is the root cause of the issue that we have. And if we can't solve it through that, which is a 3, 4, 5, 10-year project that may or may not come to fruition, we've got to find local funding here through a partial tax. So we want to make sure we're knocking on every door when we're looking at our budget. So those are kind of the things that I've been working on over the last few weeks.
What a perfect storm if we could get both of those aligned.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Did they say anything about the budget? Like just overall good, bad?
I think that, Chris, you can add in on this. The state budget to me from the governor is kind of a status quo budget, is what it feels like to me. The cost of living adjustment went down a smidge, and there are some one-time funds that are in the works. Who knows if those one-time funds will come? Even if they do, they're one-time funds. So essentially the way we will use the one-time funds is to reduce cuts. It's not going to be to expand programs. It's not going to be to pay teachers. It's mostly going to be to make sure we don't cut a program, because they're one-time and not ongoing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, lots going on in January for sure. Today we started our second round of coaching for EL Education, our new ELA program, and in the fall the coaching days were site-based, and we've shifted and now they are district-wide grade level days. So today all the fourth grade teachers in the district got together I actually think it was a really good move to make this shift. Just great collaboration, and it was really neat to hear them talking about, you know, what was working and like little stories about, you know, some successes that they had had with kids, and things that they're seeing, and then also ways in which they're filling in where things aren't quite working, which is the case with any curriculum for any subject. You know, the curriculum is really a tool, and you're always going to need to kind of hone that tool to make it work for the kids that are in front of you. And then last week we had a coaching day for our full math department at Whitehill for their program, Amplify Desmos, and that was another great day. It's a really great coach that comes out and works with them. He did a model lesson that was really neat to see, and then there was a lot of collaboration, and I find this to be the case for most curriculum, where teachers have these big lessons and there's so many layers and so many parts to the lessons, and you really have to kind of look at the whole thing, get the gist, and make some decisions, because if you do every piece of it, you're not going to get through it. And so just some support with how to do that, and he was really great at that. And then last week I was in a meeting with the administration from Archie and our Whitehill principals, and we're setting up our kind of a series of articulation meetings. I'm not sure if it'll be multiple days or all in one day, but pretty much every department. We'll have some department leads, a couple of teachers from Archie come on over to Whitehill to meet, and everybody's really excited about it. And then inside that phone call, the idea of doing some observations came up, so we're gonna have Archie teachers coming and seeing Whitehill teachers and the reverse, and it's just really great. Math has been doing a good job of participating in articulation each year, but our other subjects really haven't had that opportunity, and so just everyone's really excited about it and putting that into place. We had our teacher leadership meeting, Delight, last week. I love that group. They are amazing and just so important for us in terms of their feedback. We're working on calendar again, my very favorite job. Part of the job.
Why'd you look at me?
And we're also we're creating a document that talks about technology agreements. I can write it you, Daniel, for district teachers. And so really looking at where is technology showing up within the curriculum, what kinds of technology, what is more like teacher use technology, like lesson slide presentations, how are students using technology, how frequently, what type, all of that. And so it's gone through a number of iterations, and then we're gonna bring it to our principals, and then we'll roll it out to all staff. So that's exciting. We're in the middle of, we're just actually finishing up our reading screener. Dibbles should be finishing up in the next week or so, and it's been really great to see the data. Seeing some growth in some areas, some grade levels where there's a little bit of a dip, which is actually pretty common when you're implementing a new program. But what's really fantastic is getting this data and being able to say, you know, here's a group of kids at this site in this grade level that need more support, and meetings have been taking place between intervention teachers and our instructional coach and the classroom teachers on putting plans in place immediately, which is just fantastic. It's like great data use. And iReady is happening right now, both reading and ELA for K-5. Whitehill is going to iReady test, I think it's the week before, the week after the February break, because they're not going to test at the end of the year. They found that running iReady and CASP testing almost concurrently, too much for middle school kids. And then hiring season is just peeking around the corner at us. Hiring season is kind of all year long now, but the real hiring season is coming, and so we're just kind of preparing for that.
Oh. Sounds exhausting. We, as I mentioned a lot during the presentation, but yeah, we had our Special Education Advisory Committee meeting, the third of 4 last week, and that went great. We seems like a really long time ago, but January 5th, we had a staff development day. And I provided a behavior training to our TK teachers, and all of our specialist teachers, our art, music, PE, and some of our special education staff, and that people appreciated it. And we're going to do some sharing of best practices and some observations of best practices in action in classrooms. We also, that day, I met with our special education team and we had a great get together. We hadn't all been together since the beginning of the school year, so we had a lot to talk about, and it was nice to be together and make some decisions and do some planning. We also, although our classified staff did not have a staff development day on January 5th, we did have 7 of our classified staff members who we paid for the day to go to Marin County Office of Education to a safety care training, which was a full day of behavior strategies and how to de-escalate situations and how to be safe around kids who might not be so safe. And so, so that was wonderful. Got some really good feedback on that. They were happy to be included and get to do that. So that was amazing. And that group actually works with some of our most at-risk students. And so we really identified that group. That's so important for them to know the skills. Our principals, counselors, and school psychologists attended a threat determination training through the Marin County Office of Education. Marin County came here to do that presentation and answer some real specific questions from our groups so that we could fine tune our threat determination process. And I think finally, I'm serving on the ad hoc committee for the SELPA, which is a special education, local education area. And for Marin County, we're doing a lot of work on policy and facilities and lots of different aspects of Marin County special education. And so it's exciting to be part of that and advocating for what we need to. So that's neat. And then I did want to mention White Hill Middle School. I had a meeting with their team to talk about totally revamping some of our special education practices there, especially our special day class program, to make it look a lot more inclusive and allow kids more access to general education. So a lot of good work there. You'll hear more about that coming soon.
And I did a lot of talking, so I'm going to make it very brief. I met Des McKissock, our Director of Maintenance and Operations over at Manor School this morning. He was removing the signs on the Manor field, and so we were opening that back up. It still needs additional work, but the grass itself has been able to take hold, and we look forward to getting people out there again. We continue the implementation of the new financial system through the County Office of Education. What that means is, for us, in terms of impact, is we still have to go through all of the training still through the rest of this year, but also the double entry that is going on with the new system in human resources, payroll, and accounts payable, and that continues to expand as we go, which is why I keep talking about it. So we're doing more and more and more work as we move through the year. And then finally, not to say too much more about what Tyler mentioned about the governor's budget. Everything he said was spot on. The one thing I would add is that School Services of California said that this wasn't the most at-risk budget in terms of the revenues that they've seen. That would have been last year, but it's the second most. And so to kind of highlight why they're saying that, they said that the Legislative Analyst's Office came out a week prior to the budget being presented by the governor, and their report said that there was something like a $7 or $8 billion hole in the budget that the governor needed to address. Well, revenues suddenly appeared within the budget is kind of how they were saying it. So that's just something that's out there. It might be a risk to the budget, and so, which is also part of the reason that Tyler mentioned what he did about the one-time dollars. So, and as we look at the coming board meetings, we'll see if we always have to look at the scheduling. If I can't get it into the February board meeting where I provide additional information. I'll incorporate that into the second interim in March.
Alright. So we are down to meeting review. Future board topics and board direction. I wasn't joking when I was talking about dedicating the bridge and having somebody like offer to pay for that. Like, I was dead serious about that. So I don't know, that's obviously a future topic when we have a bridge.
Only other thing I was thinking about, I really liked that time that when you were doing a curriculum review for the math curriculum, and then we all kind of did a little demo thing up here. I thought that was
schooled by middle schoolers.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was actually really interesting and effective and informative, and so I was just gonna encourage if there's other stuff like having us do an iReady evaluation. And if there's a way of, I don't know, if there's a way of broadcasting it.
Our scores.
Not broadcasting our scores, but so that you can video something. So if a parent is wondering, what does that look like for my kid? We could be the guinea pigs for that, and somebody could watch the thing and see what it looks like on the screen, not our scores.
I like that idea, but I volunteer Shelley's tribute.
Shelley's tribute.
I'll take second grade.
We could do it collectively. But anyhow, I thought that was either with iReady or, one of the other ones, I think.
It's always great to see it, and that comes up with assessment a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like what does it look like?
What does it look like?
Totally.
Hands and that kind of hands-on stuff for us up here, I think was great. So, future board topic.
I like them.
I know we talked about this a couple meetings ago, but where we're at with that's like, what am I saying? AI policy.
Yeah, partial tax is taking precedent right now, obviously, over the next few meetings.
Sure.
I have a cell phone policy all teed up with recommendations for families that are kind of in line with Daniel, and then once that's up, I want to start working on the AI policy. The AI policy needs to get done by the end of the year, so both those policies, the new cell phone policy and the AI policy, which can kind of pair with the tech use for teachers, like all three of those things they'll get done by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other future board topics here?
I think we should probably, I'm not sure where we are about the training that we have to do. We're mandated for the teachers to do that student teacher, I'm sorry, my brain is, we had talked about it where the county is gonna start mandating that we have training for teachers about responsible relationships, either online contact.
Yes, the one that we got in we do
Yeah.
that, we don't do that. I remember that conversation, yes,
So,
to make sure we're compliant.
yeah, make sure we're compliant with that. Just don't want that to slip and have us.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know if it's been updated though to comply with the new.
I did review that earlier this year. The board policy that we have on the books. Why don't I follow up with you
Okay,
later this week and we can chat more about
I'm
it?
around.
Great.
Probably more awake too when you find me again.
That actually what Chris just said brings up something. I saw on an email today, there's like a legal update, there's like a new training CSBA is offering that's like gonna be a new requirement for trustees to take a class on like K through 12 public education school finance laws. I don't know the timing on when that, it looks like we have to do it by April 28, 2028, so it's like, it's for in the future, but like we need to get that on our radar.
Yeah, for sure.
Cause,
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I feel like we're all pretty well
Should do
versed,
that before we do iReady.
It's like, that's on our end time.
Just saying.
And then I don't know that we've ever, like, not in the last like 6 years at least, ever done the masters in governance training. But I don't know if we
Yeah,
would be interested in
couple
having,
years ago.
but there's like a full 6-course series, it's like.
It was, I remember a couple years ago, we didn't do it, I'm saying
Yeah.
a couple years ago it came up as an option, I don't think anyone was raising their hand to do it, but to me it's.
I've had, met with 3 other superintendents last week, and I found that one of them actually does a governance training after almost every other board meeting. They do one board meeting a month, and they start at 4:00. They're done by like 6, and then they do the governance training, and they're out by like 8. And it's just something they do all the time. But I mean, I feel like the governance that this team has is pretty darn strong. So I don't feel like we need super robust training. But if any of you are interested, or we want to tack something on to the front or back end of a board meeting, I'm happy to, bring someone in for that.
CSBA also offers that for, like, if you wanted to sign up for their
Yeah.
Masters in Board Governance program,
Yeah.
I guess we would just talk to you, Tyler, about
Yep.
how does that get? It's like going to a conference kind of thing. You
That's
sign
right.
up, you have a cohort,
Yeah.
and you learn about that. So if there's somebody, say,
Chris, I remember the mandated reporter training.
Mandated reporter.
That's what it
online.
is.
That's online with Keenan.
But it's,
No. but
no,
it's-
we're not,
it's a-
board
it's-
members are not, trustees are not required, but they will be.
That's
And so we have
think
not
we did.
done it.
Is that what you were talking about, Chris?
No,
Oh,
we're talking
separate.
about the
We did
new
have you do it
required
this
training for staff,
Okay.
teachers,
Yeah.
on
I think
the types of forbidden contact and relationships with students.
Yep.
Could you send the link back out to the website with the data again, just after this meeting? I know you sent it once. The website.
Oh, from Dr. Roth?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Can you also send that? The CSBA April training came on to our radars too, right? I didn't read mine.
The CSBA thing?
It came to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It's on there, it's not on like the news ones, but it's like on their
Okay.
their weekly update is what it is. Okay, sorry, we just gave you a lot of stuff, you got it all?
Yep.
Okay. Meeting debrief, any comments on the meeting tonight? No, it's nice to see like a lovely retirement ceremony.
Yeah.
felt like it's been a long time.
That's nice.
Great, I know, I just feel like it's been a long time since we had you. Okay, with that, I'm gonna adjourn our meeting at 9:16.
Thank you.
Thank you.